With the leaderless group, how could the remaining inner elders of the Ghost Immortal sect be a match for the many experts of the Great Qi Kingdom? They were all intercepted and surrounded. However, although these inner elders of the Ghost Immortal sect knew they couldn't resist, none of them tried to surrender, but instead fought back with blood. Finally, after losing 2 more, knowing that things couldn't be done, they even shouted to surrender. This Ghost Immortal sect is audacious and dares to attack the genius of my Great Qi Kingdom. Their crime is unforgivable. Kill them all. Zhao Gao's eyes were indifferent, and he showed no mercy. Poochie. Blood splattered everywhere. In the end, all the experts of the Ghost Immortal sect were killed on the spot, bleeding on the streets. From then on, all the experts sent by the Ghost Immortal sect had fallen, and none survived. A strong bloody smell lingered on the streets of the capital. Everyone looked at Qin Yuqi, with a strange light shining in their eyes. Everyone understood that if Qin Yuqi hadn't taken action today, let alone annihilating all the experts of the Ghost Immortal sect, everyone present would have been in danger, or even fallen. And the eyes of the Qin family members were particularly complicated. Their faces changed, filled with regret. If they had known earlier that Qin Yuqi's cultivation was so strong, even if they were given 10 times the courage, they would not have dared to expel Qin Yuqi and Qin Chen from the Qin family. It's just that they didn't understand, since Qin Yuqi's cultivation was so strong, why had she been swallowing her anger all the time? Even when Qin Chen was being humiliated, she remained silent. Father, are you okay? Semicolon. Under the gaze of everyone, Qin Yuqi quickly came to Qin Beishan and looked worried. I'm fine. Semicolon. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Qin Beishan had a trace of relief and a trace of heartache on his face. Yuqi, you have been wronged these years. Semicolon. Father, those words, these are all Yuqi's own decisions. Qin Yuqi shook her head, and then smiled. It's just that Yuqi didn't expect that the son of me and Zhantian would have such a talent for cultivation. Zhantian must be very happy when he knows. Semicolon. Speaking of Zhantian, Qin Yuqi's face actually showed a girlish shyness and longing. That beautiful face and youthful expression made all the men present stare blankly, their hearts fluctuating, unable to take their eyes away. Chenair, come and meet your grandfather. Semicolon. Qin Yuqi beckoned to Qin Chen. Yes. Qin Chen stepped forward, feeling indescribable in his heart. It was indeed a bit embarrassing for him to call an old man grandfather, but Qin Beishan's strong figure before made him feel extremely moved. At least, he had no ill feelings towards Qin Beishan. Ha ha ha, you brat, why are you so estranged after not seeing you for so many years? You don't even call me grandfather anymore. Semicolon. Qin Beishan couldn't help but laugh when he saw Qin Chen's strange expression. Old Master Qin, Miss Qin Yuqi, if it weren't for the 2 of you just now, my Great Qi Kingdom would have been really embarrassed. Fortunately, the powerful enemy has been killed. Are you 2 all right? Semicolon. At this time, Zhao Gao stepped forward with a smile on his face, and asked with concern. His tone was enthusiastic, as if there was no unpleasantness between them. Thank you for your concern, Your Majesty. This old minister's body is still strong and won't die. Semicolon. Qin Beishan snorted coldly. As for Qin Yuqi, she just glanced at Zhao Gao lightly and didn't say anything. But her holy and proud temperament was like a fairy from the 9 heavens, making Zhao Gao feel inferior. It was impossible for Zhao Gao not to hate Qin Yuqi. Once upon a time, such a beautiful woman was also designated by the late emperor as his concubine. Unexpectedly, in order to escape the marriage, the other party left without saying goodbye until she came back with Qin Chen, making him a laughing stock among the emperors of the Great Qi Kingdom. Although Zhao Gao seemed very indifferent these years and never mentioned this matter, there was still a grudge in his heart. But at this moment, in front of Qin Yuqi, he didn't dare to be the slightest bit dissatisfied. He even felt a trace of inferiority and fear. Even a strong man like Nian Shuo, the sect master of the Ghost Immortal sect, was not Qin Yuqi's opponent with 1 palm. The other party's strength was far beyond his imagination. With such a strong person, plus a military commander like Qin Beishan, they could even subvert the imperial power of the Great Qi Kingdom. Zhao Gao's heart was filled with regret. If he had known this, he would never have given up on Qin Chen and put himself in this situation. Let's go back to the house. Semicolon. Ignoring Zhao Gao, Qin Yuqi pulled Qin Chen and Qin Yuqi and walked back to the mansion. Leaving only the embarrassed Zhao Gao, his face turned blue and white, very ugly. Patriarch. Father. The many elders of the Qin family and Qin Yuansheng also called out nervously. The head of the Qin family, King Dingwu Qin Beishan, after returning to the capital, instead of returning to his own mansion first, he went to Qin Yuqi's mansion. What's the matter? You few go back first, I will return to the mansion later. Standing here, what's the proper way? Semicolon. Turning his head, Qin Beishan snorted coldly. Qin Yuqi, you bitch, you clearly had the ability to save Feng Er before, why did you stand by and watch him die? You bitch. Suddenly, an angry roar sounded. Zhao Feng suddenly rushed out, like a mad woman, pouncing towards Qin Yuqi with a ferocious look. Bang! However, before she could reach Qin Yuqi, she was blasted away by Qin Beishan's palm and fell to the ground, covered in dust. Father, old-in-law, Qin Yuansheng and Zhao Zhen's faces changed, and they hurriedly stepped forward to help Zhao Feng up. Yuansheng, why don't you take Zhao Feng back to me? Don't you think my Qin family has lost enough face? Semicolon. Qin Beishan shouted angrily, then looked at Zhao Zhen, squinted his eyes, and said in a cold voice, In-law, Qin advises you Zhao family should interfere less in my Qin family's affairs in the future, otherwise, don't blame Qin for not caring about the past relationship. Semicolon. Zhao Zhen's face turned blue and white, but he couldn't say a word. Immediately, the people from the Qin family and the Zhao family left in embarrassment. Your Majesty, what should we do? Semicolon. Several palace experts gathered around and said, What else can we do? Return to the palace. With a livid face, Zhao Gao suffered a bellyful of anger and didn't give the other party a good look. Young Master Chen, Old Master Qin, then we'll leave too. Semicolon. Farewell. Semicolon. Knowing that Qin Chen, Qin Yuqi, and Qin Beishan still had a lot to talk about, Xiao Ya, Dongfang King, Kan Wang, Liang Yu, and others were also very sensible and bowed their hands to say goodbye. Everyone, when I have time, Qin Chen will personally visit and thank you. Semicolon. Qin Chen said politely. This time, Dongfang King and others disregarded the danger and wanted to help him fight the enemy. Qin Chen was naturally very grateful. The so-called true love is seen in adversity. This battle with the Ghost Immortal sect also allowed him to see the faces of everyone. It was clear at a glance who was sincerely helping him. Seeing the many experts leaving one after another, the onlookers also shook their heads and dispersed. It's just that the excitement in their hearts couldn't be calmed down no matter what. Even the most ignorant people know that in the Northwest 5 Kingdoms, a profound realm late-stage peak expert is already the top expert, and a half-step martial sect used to only be the #1 expert of the Great Liang Kingdom, Wei Tianming. And now, the Great Qi Kingdom finally has a half-step martial sect expert. Not only that, besides the old man Qin Beishan, a half-step martial sect powerhouse. Qin Yuqi of the Qin family was actually a powerhouse who had surpassed the martial sect level. What a shocking thing this was. In the Northwest, a place where martial sect experts were rare, Qin Yuqi was almost capable of ascending to the position of the #1 expert in the Northwest. The #1 expert of the entire Northwest 5 nations was actually in the Great Qi Kingdom, and was even someone who had never revealed their cultivation. Everyone felt shocked just thinking about it. In an instant, everything that happened here spread like a storm to the entire royal capital, being recited and discussed in everyone's mouths. At this time, in Qin Yuqi's house, Qin Chen and the others all sat down. After this great battle, apart from Qin Yuqi's house, which remained intact, the rest of Qin Chen's residence had long been reduced to rubble and debris, becoming ruins. Yuqi, I didn't expect you to live in such a place. That Zhao Feng is too much. Looking at this residence located in the slums of the West City, Qin Beishan's eyes widened, and a murderous aura flowed within his gaze. Father, living here was my idea, and the surroundings here are very quiet, and the neighbors are very friendly. There's no need to be so angry. Qin Yuqi instead comforted Qin Beishan. Alas, to me, you are too stubborn, insisting on hiding your cultivation. Otherwise, how could Zhao Feng dare to touch you these years? Qin Beishan shook his head. Father, have you always known about third sister's cultivation? Qin Yuanzi on the side couldn't help but be surprised, and Qin Ying also widened her eyes. HMPH. Or what did you think? Qin Beishan snorted coldly. Am I the kind of person who would knowingly leave your elder brother and Zhao Feng to treat Yuqi badly, and then abandon their mother and daughter to the frontier? Qin Yuanzi opened his mouth wide. So, the old man always knew about Qin Yuqi's cultivation, so he dared to leave their mother and daughter in the royal capital, causing himself to be worried all these years. Alas, if it weren't for receiving your news this time, my Qin family's disciples would have already reached the point of fratricide. I wouldn't have been so anxious to come back. Alas, my poor Feng heir, although he is a bit domineering, he wouldn't go so far as to kill people indiscriminately. It must be that Zhao Feng. A trace of sadness appeared in the old man's eyes. No matter what, Qin Feng was also his own grandson, and had been training in the army for many years. He didn't expect this time. The old man's eyes slightly reddened, and he felt a sense of loss in his heart. But, father, how could third sister have such cultivation? This. Qin Yuanzi looked shocked, unable to understand how. Qin Yuqi's cultivation was too high, already exceeding his imagination and understanding. If Qin Yuqi was at the late stage peak of the profound realm, he wouldn't be so shocked. Qin Chen couldn't help but look over, his face full of doubt. Looking at Qin Chen's shocked appearance, Qin Yuqi smiled somewhat triumphantly, and a trace of gratified smile appeared on her face. Chen heir, in fact, mother has never thought that there would be a day when I would reveal my strength in front of you. Really, mother is very happy to see that you are so outstanding, especially happy. In fact, mother's talent for martial arts has always been extremely high. If mother's talent wasn't so high, how could your father have fallen in love with mother back then? As for second brother, have you forgotten that third sister was once the #1 genius in the royal capital? Even you, second brother, were no match for third sister. Qin Yuqi was in a very good mood, smiling slyly. Indeed, third sister, you were once known as the #1 genius in the royal capital, but even so, your cultivation is too exaggerated, right? Even a fifth-order martial sect expert like Nian Shuo was killed with a single palm strike. Such cultivation has already far exceeded what the Northwest 5 nations can withstand, making Qin Yuanzi unable to accept it. Moreover, your cultivation is so high, why have you never revealed it, insisting on hiding it for so many years? You should know that even if you only revealed half of your cultivation, Zhao Feng would not be able to harm you at all. Why be so cautious? What Qin Yuanzi couldn't understand the most was Qin Yuqi hiding her cultivation. If Qin Yuqi's cultivation wasn't high, then hiding it could be considered concealing her talent, but with such high cultivation, once revealed, who would dare to touch her? Was there a need to be so cautious? Second brother, you ask a good question. In fact, the reason why I hid my cultivation was all for Chen heir. For Qin Chen. Qin Yuanzi was stunned, and even Qin Chen looked puzzled. Indeed, my cultivation is extremely high, and I can deter Zhao Feng, but don't forget what kind of person Zhao Feng is. Long before elder brother married this woman, I already understood her very well. With her temperament, if I didn't have any cultivation, it would be fine, but once I revealed my strength, I'm afraid she would be even more jealous of me and Chen heir, thinking that me and Chen heir would take away everything from her, and target Chen heir everywhere. Qin Yuqi sighed. In this world, what's the use of just having high strength? At that time, Chen heir couldn't even awaken his bloodline. It can be said that he had no ability to protect himself at all. As his mother, how could I always be able to protect him? Once Zhao Feng took advantage of my absence to poison or harm Chen heir, what could I do then? Even if I killed Zhao Feng, could she return my Chen heir to me? So, I had no choice but to hide my cultivation. I have no cultivation, and Chen heir has no talent. Although Zhao Feng is jealous of us, she definitely won't value us too much in her heart. In this way, Chen heir can grow up healthily. Being able to see this is already enough for me. Qin Yuqi looked at Qin Chen lovingly, a trace of compassion flashing in her eyes. Qin Chen's heart trembled. His mother did this to protect him. But mother, with your cultivation, even if you went anywhere in the Northwest 5 nations, you should be able to make a living, right? Why stay here? Qin Chen was still puzzled. The reason why mother is staying here is naturally for mother's reasons, and that is to wait for your father to come over. A trace of longing and shyness flashed in Qin Yuqi's eyes. Father. This was the first time Qin Chen had heard his mother talk about his father. In his mind, his father was like a mysterious person, who had never appeared and only existed in legends. Qin Yuqi smiled faintly and said quietly, "Yes, your father." She raised her head, her eyes flashing with admiration. "Chenair, your father is a towering powerhouse and a true man. The reason why mother has been able to cultivate to her current cultivation is for no other reason than because of your father. It was he who taught me such a set of cultivation techniques, and it was he who allowed mother to embark on the true path of cultivation, knowing that the so-called advanced cultivation techniques of the Great Qi Kingdom are just some garbage, and knowing how to truly cultivate. Actually, the cultivation technique that your grandfather cultivates is also given by your mother, which is a cultivation technique that your father passed on to your mother." At this time, Qin Baishan suddenly said. No wonder. Nearby, Qin Yuanzi suddenly understood. As his son, he knew very well what Qin Baishan's talent was. To say that he could reach the level of Lingwu King Xiozan was not impossible, but to surpass Lingwu King Xiozan and break through the half-step martial ancestor realm was simply unthinkable. After all, after so many years of battlefield conquests, Qin Baishan's body was actually full of hidden injuries. These hidden injuries not only affected his life, but also consumed his energy and spirit every moment. This made it extremely difficult for his cultivation to improve further. But before, not only had his father broken through the half-step martial ancestor realm, but even sect leader Nian Shuo of the Ghost Immortal sect was no match for his father at the same level, which made it seem a bit strange. Now, Qin Yuanzi completely understood what was going on. Qin Chen also nodded secretly. So, the heaven rank cultivation technique that my mother cultivated was actually given by my father. What kind of person is my father? Being able to produce such a heaven rank cultivation technique is definitely not something an ordinary force can do. After all, ordinary heaven rank cultivation techniques cannot hide from the 9-star God Emperor art. With a thought in his mind, Qin Chen couldn't help but ask, "Mother, who exactly is my father?" "Your father comes from an extremely mysterious place on the mainland. The family he belongs to is a powerful force, one of the most top-notch forces on the mainland." Qin Yuqi said, "You are still young now, and you won't understand even if I explain it to you." What mother said, could it be the martial domain? Qin Chen blinked his eyes. "Huh, you also know about the martial domain?" Qin Yuqi was surprised. "I once saw it in an ancient book. It is said that the martial domain is the center of our Tianwu Continent, the supreme place." Qin Chen could only explain it this way, he couldn't possibly say that in his previous life, he lived in the martial domain, and was even one of the most famous powerhouses in the martial domain. Qin Yuqi touched Qin Chen's head, then shook her head and said, "Your father once told me about the martial domain, but he told me that he did not come from the martial domain, but from another mysterious place, and his family is very taboo about family cultivation techniques. He passed it on to me, which has already violated the family rules. This time, he left the family, which was already a violation of the rules. If the family knows that he also passed the cultivation technique to mother, then the family will be furious. Not only will he be punished, but mother and you will also be beheaded together to eliminate future troubles. This is also one of the reasons why mother has always been afraid to show her strength." Qin Yuqi sighed. Although the 5 Northwest nations are located in a remote area, they are small but complete. The Pill Pavilion, the Bloodline Holy Land and other forces all have stationed there. Even outside the 5 nations, the Blood Demon sect has been eyeing us. If mother easily exposes her strength and it spreads out, once your father's family knows about it, it doesn't matter if it harms mother herself, but if it implicates you and your father, then mother's sin will be great. Qin Chen frowned. Besides the martial domain, which other mysterious place has such a family? Could it be the few hidden families on the mainland? But although he had not been in contact with all of those hidden families, he knew something about them, and they were somewhat different from the family that his mother said his father belonged to. Mother, what kind of family does my father belong to? What is his surname? Qin Chen became more and more curious. Chen, don't blame mother. Mother can't tell you. Unexpectedly, Qin Yuqi's expression was firm and she was unwilling to tell Qin Chen, and she said, your father's family is very mysterious. If you find out, whether you are intentional or unintentional, once it spreads out, it will cause great trouble, and your cultivation is still low now. After you know your father's identity, you will definitely investigate, and if the other party knows about it, I'm afraid you will be in danger, so, please forgive mother for not being able to tell you now. I'm sorry, Chen. Qin Yuqi's face was full of guilt. No, mother, if you don't want to tell me, then it's okay. Qin Chen said. In his mind, he recalled the bits and pieces of his mother and himself. In order to protect him, his mother was clearly more powerful than others, but she suffered all kinds of humiliation in the Qin family, and was unwilling to refute even the accusations of the servants. How could Qin Chen care about this kind of love? But thinking about it carefully, although his mother had never refuted or resisted the bullying of Zhao Feng and others, there was never any fear or timidity in her eyes. Obviously, this was already a huge flaw. It's a pity that he didn't think too much about it at the beginning. Chen, actually, these years, you have been unable to awaken your bloodline, and mother has been thinking about protecting you for the rest of her life and living a plain life. But I didn't expect that during the year-end exam at Tianxing Academy, you actually awakened your bloodline and became an instant success. Mother is really happy. Qin Yuqi said here, tears of excitement falling. Qin Chen smiled and said, that's thanks to Wei Zhen's kick that opened my mind. No. Qin Yuqi shook her head. Actually, mother should have known long ago that your father's blood flows in your body, so how could you be ordinary? Qin Chen smiled bitterly. It seemed that his mother was poisoned by his father. He was very curious about what kind of man could make such a wonderful woman like his mother fall in love with him and be infatuated with him for many years. But indeed, although this body was a little weak at the beginning, whether it was the foundation or the physique, it was extraordinary, and even the awakened bloodline could be called perverted. Perhaps it had something to do with his bloodline inheritance. Chen, do you hate mother for doing this? Qin Yuqi sighed. No. Why would I? If it weren't for mother, how could I be here today? Qin Chen said from the bottom of his heart. In his previous life, he was an orphan. In this life, he felt maternal love, and only then did he know how great maternal love is. Qin Yuqi suddenly looked at Qin Chen with reluctance and said softly, Chen, if mother is saying, if one day, mother wants to leave, will you resent mother? Qin Chen was stunned for a moment, then raised his head and said, Mother, are you going to find father? A trace of panic flashed across Qin Yuqi's face, but in the end, she still nodded and said, Yes, for so many years, your father has not come to pick up the two of us. Mother is worried that something might have happened to him. Mother, could it be that he has forgotten about us? Qin Chen said. A man, no matter how big a problem he encounters, leaving his mother and son in such a place for more than 10 years, does not count as a good man. No, absolutely not. Seeming to be afraid of hearing Qin Chen's complaints about his father, Qin Yuqi couldn't help but say, Mother believes in your father, he must have his own difficulties. In fact, your father promised mother that he would come to pick up the two of us in a few years, but more than 10 years have passed, and your father has never appeared. Mother believes that your father is definitely not the kind of person who breaks his promise, there must be some problem, or some difficulty, so, you must forgive your father, he is definitely not such a person. Qin Yuqi looked nervous, her biggest fear being that Qin Chen would resent her father. After all, any person would feel angry if a father abandoned his wife and son in a place, not seeing him even once for over 10 years. She had heard of such things happening far too often. Chen, you must believe your mother, your father is definitely not that kind of person. Qin Yuqi bit her lip, the trust and determination in her eyes causing Qin Chen to look at her with renewed interest. Then mother, why don't you go find him? Qin Chen could see that his mother still held deep feelings for his father, never forgetting him all these years. Qin Yuqi sighed softly. Actually, all these years, mother has wanted to find your father, but mother couldn't bear to leave you. Taking you on the road would definitely be dangerous, and mother didn't want you to be involved in such danger. Mother only hoped you would be safe and sound, especially considering how you were before. Although Qin Yuqi didn't finish her sentence, Qin Chen understood her meaning. The former him was weak and helpless, unable to even awaken his bloodline. If Qin Yuqi had left with him, he probably would have been killed by Zhao Feng in a matter of days. But now, his mother had seen his changes and understood his strength, which was why the thought of finding his father had resurfaced in her heart. Thinking about the pain his mother had silently endured for him all these years, Qin Chen couldn't help but feel a pang in his heart. Mother. He revealed a warm smile and said softly, go ahead, son supports you. Find him and ask him why he didn't keep his promise, abandoning us here for over 10 years without contact. Qin Chen couldn't stand such a man. Regardless of the problem, abandoning his wife and son here for over 10 years without a word was a dereliction of duty as a man. However, he respected his mother's choice and hoped she could find her own happiness. Qin Yuqi's eyes suddenly turned red, staring blankly at Qin Chen, never expecting her son to be so understanding and considerate. She pursed her lips tightly, forcefully holding back the tears from falling, and nodded vigorously. Yuqi, don't worry, if you leave, father will definitely take good care of Chen and won't let him suffer any more grievances. At this time, Qin Beishan spoke from the side, his voice gentle. Father, thank you for your support. Qin Yuqi's tears finally streamed down her face. In fact, all these years, if not for Qin Beishan's silent support, Qin Yuqi would not have been able to endure. Back then, she had left rashly, and later returned with Qin Chen. Qin Beishan not only didn't blame her, but had always stood by her side. And now, Qin Chen was also so supportive and understanding of her. For a moment, Qin Yuqi even felt like she was the happiest person in the world. Thank you, Chen. Qin Yuqi said, choking with emotion. Next, mother will guide you for a period of time, and take care of some of your affairs. Those who dare to harm you, mother will never let them have an easy time. Qin Yuqi's eyes flashed, revealing a sharp glint, and an unspeakable aura bloomed from her body. Qin Chen couldn't help but stare in astonishment. To be honest, Qin Chen was a little unaccustomed to his mother's transformation from her usual gentleness to such a strong demeanor. However, he could also see that Qin Yuqi was still somewhat worried about him. Mother, don't worry, I can handle everything well. Moreover, it won't be long before I might also leave the Northwest 5 nations to see a wider world. Qin Chen smiled. To grow, one couldn't cower in a place like the Northwest 5 nations. After all, he still carried a deep blood feud. Wouldn't it be letting Shangguan Xie and Feng Xiaoyu live even more carefree lives if he didn't seize the time? Qin Yuqi was stunned, then smiled. Chen, you can think that way, you truly are his child. The Northwest 5 nations are indeed too small. Your father once heard that the Northwest region in the Tianwu Continent is just a tiny place. However, even if you want to leave, you should participate in the 5 nations Grand Tournament's semi-finals before leaving. The ancient southern capital's inheritance remains are extraordinary, as your father once told me, and you must not miss it. Qin Yuqi's expression was serious. Oh. Qin Chen's eyes lit up. How so? Specifically, mother isn't very clear either, but back then, your father said that this Northwest region is very strange and should have once been an important place in ancient times. Here, there are some extremely terrifying remains and inheritances. Otherwise, your father wouldn't have come here to train. Moreover, after hearing about the ancient southern capital, he once said that the ancient southern capital's inheritance remains might involve the secrets of the ancient core area of the Northwest region back then. However, your father couldn't stay here for long, so he never saw it, and mother can't say anything about it either. But since your father said so, there must be his reasons. Qin Yuqi affirmed. Hee, that's interesting. Qin Chen was thoughtful. It seemed that he had to participate in this Northwest Five Nations Grand Tournament. Next, Qin Yuqi and Qin Baishan exchanged words for a while. Looking at his daughter and grandson, Qin Baishan was also filled with emotion. In fact, with Qin Yuqi's cultivation, dealing with Zhao Feng would be easy, but unfortunately, Zhao Feng didn't know this, and always thought that Qin Yuqi and her son would snatch her things. She was truly short-sighted. Thinking of the deceased Qin Feng, Qin Baishan couldn't help but feel regret in his heart. For the first time, he felt that he might have been wrong to agree to the marriage between the Qin family and the Zhao family. Yuqi, Chen, now that I'm back, shouldn't you stop living here and come home with me? Finally, Qin Baishan looked around and couldn't help but sigh. He couldn't bear to let his daughter and grandson live in such a place. That's right, third sister, why don't you come back? With father here, Zhao Feng won't dare to do anything to you again. Qin Yuanzi also persuaded from the side. Father, second brother, let's forget it. You've also heard that I'll be leaving soon. Moreover, do you think Zhao Feng can make things difficult for me? It's just that I don't want to go back to that house. In the entire Qin family, the only ones I can acknowledge are father and second brother, and also Ying'er. As for the others, it's better not to see them, I'm afraid I'll feel disgusted. Qin Yuqi shook her head. Qin Yuanzi was speechless and sighed. Indeed, with Qin Yuqi's cultivation, she could have chosen not to leave back then. The reason she chose to leave was just because she didn't want to see those faces again. Since you don't want to go home, I won't force you. Qin Baishan also sighed. Yuanzi, Ying'er, let's go. I want to see just how rotten my Qin family has become after not returning for over 10 years. With a cold snort, Qin Baishan stood up, bid farewell to Qin Yuqi and Qin Chen, and turned to leave with Qin Yuanzi and Qin Ying. His face revealed a fierce aura, and he had already decided in his heart that this time, he would give some people a lesson. Otherwise, this Qin family would be ruined by this couple sooner or later. Qin Chen knew that Qin Baishan's return this time would definitely stir up a storm in the entire king's capital. However, he was too lazy to get involved in such matters. Returning to his room, Qin Chen sat down cross-legged and began to examine his body internally. Although the power of the 100 Ghost Curse did not seem to affect his body on the surface, it was actually lurking within him at all times, and had not dissipated. Over time, there would definitely be some problems. Let me take a look. Buzz. Slightly mobilizing the true energy within his body, Qin Chen immediately felt a cold and gloomy power, wrapping around his entire body, penetrating into his soul. That feeling was like being suddenly placed in a cold and damp ice cellar in the middle of summer, feeling a gloomy chill. Looking inward, Qin Chen's powerful soul power immediately detected that there seemed to be strands of invisible black aura in his body, permeating every cell, and even eroding the soul level. These strands of invisible black aura, carrying a ghostly aura, were a very different kind of power, different from mental power, and also different from soul power, and even more so from true power, but rather a kind of indescribable form of power. This should be some kind of curse power. The 100 Ghost Curse may have also incorporated some unique ghost aura, making this power different from ordinary power levels. Qin Chen frowned. He had heard of curse power before, which was a very special force in the Tianwu Continent. It was unclear where this power came from. Some said it was a mutation of soul power, while others said it belonged to the power of the third realm. In short, it had something in common with bloodline power, true power, mental power, and soul power, but it was not similar. Let's try to dispel it with true energy first. Calming down, Qin Chen fully operated the 9-star God Emperor technique and began to expel the black curse power. Buzz. The powerful 9-star God Emperor technique true energy circulated rapidly in his body, coming into contact with the black curse power. To Qin Chen's surprise, his 9-star God Emperor technique true energy was actually effective against the black curse power, and began to wear away the power on it. However, before Qin Chen could be happy for long, he discovered that this curse power seemed to possess consciousness, and actively began to evade. Moreover, After being worn away to a certain extent, the 9-star God Emperor technique true energy, apart from having some suppression effect on the curse power, could no longer continue to wear it away. It seems that my 9-star God Emperor technique true energy is not pure enough. Qin Chen shook his head. The fact that true energy could wear away curse power had already given Qin Chen a surprise, but after all, Qin Chen's true energy level was only at the heaven realm. Even if its purity was high, the quantity was not enough, so there was no way. Next, Qin Chen tried to eliminate this curse power with mental power, soul power, and bloodline power. Unfortunately, he had tried mental power before, and it had no effect at all. Although soul power was the strongest, reaching the point of gathering souls and solidifying forms, it had little effect on this curse power, just like mental power. However, the thunder bloodline power gave Qin Chen a surprise. As the thunder light surged, the curse power continued to melt away. However, like the 9-star God Emperor technique true energy before, after melting to a certain extent, the thunder bloodline power also lost its effect. And although this curse power would be melted away, it was quickly replenished, and the two sides were in a state of balance. It seems that Thunder Bloodline Power and 9-star God Emperor Technique True Energy are both effective, but unfortunately, the strength of both is too low. So far, Qin Chen's True Energy was Heaven-level True Energy, and his Bloodline Power, after so long of self-growth and improvement, had only barely reached the 2nd grade. You must know that the Bloodline Power of ordinary warriors is equivalent to their cultivation level. 4th level Mysterious level warriors all have 4th grade bloodlines. And he, a mid-stage heaven-level warrior, actually only had a 2nd grade bloodline, which was indeed a bit weak. In that case, for now, there are 4 ways to remove this curse power. With a turn of his mind, Qin Chen instantly thought of 4 ways. The first is to improve his cultivation. The 9-star God Emperor technique is very terrifying. As long as the true energy is strong enough, it will be able to completely eliminate these curse powers sooner or later. However, this method is also very difficult. Qin Chen estimated that to do this, he would have to break through his cultivation to the mysterious level at the very least, so that the true energy could be transformed into true power, to have this possibility. However, he had only just broken through to the mid-stage of the heaven level before, and it was extremely difficult to break through to the mysterious level in succession. Not to mention whether there was a way, even if there was such a way, Qin Chen would not be willing to do it. The heaven level to the mysterious level is an important transition for warriors from the low level to the middle level. True energy will also be transformed into true power. This process is very important. Reaching it hastily will lead to an unstable foundation, which will have a huge impact on future cultivation. Obviously, it is not worth the loss. The second way is to improve his bloodline power. According to the previous effect, this difficulty is not low either. After all, to completely remove the curse power in the body, he must raise his bloodline power to at least the peak of the 3rd grade, or even enter the 4th grade. If the peak of the 3rd grade can eliminate it, then it is still feasible and can be operated, but once it enters the 4th grade to eliminate it, the difficulty is even greater than the first method. And the third way is to find a special flame. According to Qin Chen's understanding in his previous life, there is a very simple way to deal with curse power, and that is to use the power of a powerful flame. Whether it is a demon fire, an earth fire, or a true fire, it has a restraining effect on curse power, and this restraint is very powerful. Generally speaking, in his previous life, alchemists with earth fire were enough to not fear curse power, and pharmacists with sky fire were even the nemesis of curse power. However, whether it is sky fire, earth fire, or even a powerful demon fire, they are very difficult to find. Sky fire is rare in the entire Tianwu Continent. Even in the martial domain, it can cause a sensation and lead to a battle between martial emperors. And although there are more earth fires, it is obviously unlikely to find them in the northwest. The only possibility is to find a high-level demon fire. The last way is to find special sacred objects. As far as Qin Chen knows, sacred objects also have a restraining effect on curse power and can resolve it. It seems that it is not easy to eliminate this curse power. Sitting cross-legged for half a day, Qin Chen had ideas on how to remove this curse power. But in his heart, it was still heavy. These 4 methods are all extraordinary, and the difficulty is not low. And what made Qin Chen feel puzzled was that Nian Shuo was just the sect master of a small sect in the northwest, and he could actually use such a powerful curse power, which was really unusual. In the days that followed, the entire royal capital of the Great Qi Kingdom was plunged into turmoil. After Qin Baishan made a strong return, he immediately removed Qin Yuansheng from his position as acting family head and handed the position to Qin Yuanzi. As for Qin Yuansheng, he was relegated to handling some minor family affairs, effectively losing all power. The positions of some of the Qin family elders also underwent major changes. Some of the older generation elders who were of the same generation as Qin Yuansheng were directly stripped of their elder positions and no longer involved in any family affairs, only needing to plant grass and tend to flowers every day. In response, many Qin family elders were apprehensive and dared not speak out. If it had been the Qin Baishan of the past, these elders might have argued their case. But now that they knew Qin Yuansheng was a half-step martial grandmaster, who would dare to utter a word of nonsense? Moreover, recalling the terror of Qin Yuqi and remembering that they were the ones who had agreed to expel Qin Yuqi in the first place, these elders were even more frightened, fearing her revenge. The only one who refused to accept this was Zhao Feng. Upon hearing the news, she rushed over like a shrew, only to be knocked to the ground by Qin Baishan's angry glare. Enraged, Zhao Feng threatened to return to her parents' home. Qin Baishan replied directly, "If you leave, don't come back." This left Zhao Feng dumbfounded and wailing miserably, saying that the Qin family only recognized Qin Chen and did not consider her son Qin Feng as a member of the Qin family. The onlookers couldn't help but sigh. However, her words only made Qin Baishan even more furious. If it weren't for Zhao Feng stirring up trouble, how could his grandson Qin Feng have ended up in such a state? He immediately flew into a rage and ordered his servants to drag her away, forbidding her from leaving the house. Upon learning of this, Zhao Zhen hurriedly came to plead for her, but Qin Baishan coldly rejected him, saying in a frosty voice, "Old-in-law, you should worry about yourself. This time, you caused such a ruckus in the royal capital, targeting my grandson. Zhao Gao will definitely deal with you. You still have the leisure to meddle in my affairs. I won't keep you." Afterward, all the members of the Zhao family were driven out of the Qin mansion by the Qin family disciples. The Zhao family of Lingnan was, after all, a top-tier wealthy family in the royal capital, with an extraordinary status, yet they were swept out of the Qin family in such a manner, naturally filled with anger and shame. However, they had not dared to confront the Qin family in the past, and now that they knew Qin Baishan was a half-step martial grandmaster, how could they dare to run wild? They could only leave, filled with pent-up anger. "Your Majesty, what should we do now?" And equally turbulent was the imperial palace of the Great Qi Kingdom. In contrast to the Qin family's sweeping changes, Zhao Gao was sitting on the throne, looking depressed and regretting his actions to the point of despair. Qin Chen actually possessed such talent, Qin Yuqi's cultivation was unexpectedly so high, and Qin Baishan had even broken through to the half-step martial grandmaster realm. Whenever he thought of these things, Zhao Gao felt so depressed that he was about to vomit blood. Had he known things would turn out this way, he would have never abandoned Qin Chen, even if it meant his death. Now, the Qin family was dissatisfied with him, and Zhao Gao even felt a trace of panic in his heart. That's right, panic. The reason why Zhao Gao had suppressed the Qin family for so many years was because Qin Baishan's achievements were too remarkable. And now, Qin Yuqi's cultivation was so high, Qin Baishan had also broken through to the half-step martial grandmaster realm, and he held significant military power. With the two of them joining forces, it was not impossible to overthrow his Great Qi Kingdom's regime. What to do? What can be done now? Zhao Gao was rather flustered, his face gloomy. "Your Majesty, I actually advised you long ago." Xiao Zhan sighed from the side. To be honest, when Zhao Gao was preparing to abandon Qin Chen, he was also extremely disappointed in his heart. "Are you blaming me?" Turning his head, Zhao Gao's expression was fierce, and he roared in anger. "Your Majesty." Xiao Zhan was stunned, not expecting Zhao Gao to speak to him in such a manner. Zhao Gao also realized his attitude and couldn't help but sigh. "Xiao Zhan, don't blame me, I'm really a little distraught right now. If the Qin family, alas. After a long while, Zhao Gao still didn't say the word rebellion. Actually, Your Majesty, there's no need to worry so much. Xiao Zhan shook his head. Zhao Gao frowned. What do you mean? Your Majesty, if the Qin family wanted to rebel, would they have waited until today? Xiao Zhan sighed and directly brought up the topic. Seeing Zhao Gao's puzzled expression, Xiao Zhan said, the king of Dingwu, Qin Chen, has been in control of the three armies for more than a decade. But look at his actions over the years. Not only does he guard the border and never return to the royal capital to avoid arousing Your Majesty's suspicion, but he also orders the Qin family's children to return to the royal capital, relinquish important military positions, serve as civil officials, and even retire to their hometowns. This has already shown his intentions. Who knows if he's deliberately putting on an act for me to see? Zhao Gao worried. Does Your Majesty think that Qin Chen needs to do this? If the Qin family wanted to rebel, they would have done it years ago. How could they have waited until now? Seeing Zhao Gao like this, Xiao Zhan was speechless and couldn't help but say, Your Majesty, Qin Yuqi's cultivation is definitely not something that can be achieved overnight. According to my estimation, she probably had strength no weaker than mine at least 10 years ago. If the Qin family really wanted to take action, they would have definitely done it back then. Your Majesty, think about it. 10 years ago, Your Majesty had just ascended the throne not long ago, and your control over the court must have been unstable. Moreover, at that time, several princes were still young and unable to control the overall situation. Furthermore, 10 years ago, the Great Wei Kingdom repeatedly invaded our borders, leading to frequent battles on the frontier. If the Qin family wanted to rebel, they only needed to let Qin Yuqi sneak into the palace, poison Your Majesty, and then frame the Great Wei Kingdom. At that time, if Your Majesty were to die, the princes would be unable to control the overall situation, and the responsibility of saving the country would definitely fall on Qin Chen, who controls the three armies. At that time, the Qin family would first act as regent and then rule directly, and no one would be able to stop them. But the Qin family didn't do that. Instead, after Your Majesty ascended the throne, they repeatedly relinquished power. The entire Qin family, except for Qin Chen, who still controls the three armies, and Qin Yuansheng, who secured a position in the court, all the others have become commoners. These all happened after Your Majesty ascended the throne. Qin Chen is showing you his intentions. So many years have passed, and my great Qi kingdom has had favorable weather and abundant harvests, and the people are united. Your Majesty also enjoys great prestige in the military and among the people. Moreover, several princes have also become promising. How can the Qin family still rebel? What does Your Majesty think? Xiao Zhan looked at Zhao Gao, sighing slightly in his heart. He was blinded by his own involvement and couldn't see the situation clearly. Otherwise, with Zhao Gao's intelligence and wisdom, he wouldn't have been unable to see it. Hearing this, Zhao Gao fell into deep thought. Gradually, his eyes lit up. Being able to serve as the ruler of a country, Zhao Gao was naturally not a foolish person. After thinking carefully, he naturally understood what Xiao Zhan said, which was indeed very reasonable. If the Qin family really wanted to rebel, they wouldn't have needed to cripple themselves like this over the years, putting on an act for him to see. On the contrary, it was he who had been constantly wary of Qin Chen's military power, getting stuck in a dead end and digging himself deeper and deeper. Xiao Zhan, why didn't you tell me these things earlier? Zhao Gao was extremely frustrated. If he had understood this point earlier, he wouldn't have ended up in this situation. Your Majesty, it's not that I didn't want to tell you earlier, it's just that I didn't understand it myself before. In the past, I only felt that old Master Qin Chen didn't have the heart of rebellion, but I wasn't sure enough. But this time, after learning about Qin Yuqi's cultivation, I was truly certain. Xiao Zhan explained. That's true. Zhao Gao nodded. If Qin Yuqi hadn't displayed her heaven-defying cultivation this time, he wouldn't have been so panicked, and things wouldn't have been straightened out so quickly. Then what should I do now? Zhao Gao asked anxiously. Your Majesty, your wisdom must be above mine. You should know very well what to do. Xiao Zhan didn't answer Zhao Gao's words, but said with a smile. Zhao Gao was stunned, then patted his head. It's me who's confused. His knot was untied, and his mood immediately improved. Like this, immediately pass down my order to reward Old Master Qin Chen. This time, he has made great contributions to resolving the crisis of the Ghost Immortal sect and the Great Wei Kingdom. He is allowed to freely enter and leave the royal capital without having to go through my orders again. Secondly, Qin Yuanzi of the Qin family seems to have a good relationship with Qin Chen. Confer him the title of Marquis Shufeng, and appoint him as the central Sima. As for the Zhao family of Lingnan, they dared to attack Qin Chen, which is a heinous crime and must be severely punished. The most important thing is Qin Chen and his mother. Reward them with a mansion and countless treasures. You go and help with this matter, and be sure to let the Qin family see my sincerity. By the way, isn't Qin Chen on good terms with Zunair and Wei'er? Let them too also go to express their condolences. Also, call Kan Wang along. I heard that Kan Wang has a very close relationship with the Qin family. With him there, it should be easier. It must be said that Zhao Gao was indeed quite courageous. After understanding, he immediately issued a series of decrees. I wonder if the Qin family will forgive my mistake this time. After saying these, Zhao Gao couldn't help but shake his head in depression. When Zhao Gao's rewards arrived at the Qin family and Qin Chen's place, the entire royal capital was shaken. Especially those people and experts who saw Qin Chen reprimanding Zhao Gao were dumbfounded. They didn't expect that the Qin family would not only not be punished, but would be greatly rewarded instead. Moreover, the extent of this reward was simply unprecedented. But after thinking carefully, everyone understood. This time, the Qin family made great contributions to repelling the Ghost Immortal sect's experts, and with the Qin family's strength, Zhao Gao probably wouldn't know how to punish them even if he wanted to. Qin Chen didn't have much reaction to these rewards. At this time, he was racking his brains on how to remove the power of the curse in his body. After these days, Qin Chen had a certain understanding of the characteristics of the 100 Ghosts curse. After being cursed by the 100 Ghosts, Qin Chen's cultivation had stagnated to a certain extent. And his energy, spirit, and essence were also constantly being consumed. Of course, there were also forbidden areas on Qin Chen's body that were difficult for the 100 Ghosts curse to erode. The first was the Sea of Souls. The power of the soul that gathered and formed, although it didn't have much effect on the 100 Ghosts curse, it could isolate the erosion of the 100 Ghosts curse and hold its ground. In fact, Qin Chen was quite hopeful that the 100 Ghosts curse could invade the Sea of Souls, so that he could observe whether the mysterious ancient book would appear and eliminate it. Unfortunately, this curse power could not even invade the Sea of Souls, naturally unable to trigger the reaction of the mysterious ancient book. The second was the source of blood. The core of the bloodline in Qin Chen's body was also unable to be eroded by the 100 Ghosts curse. Once it approached, it would be annihilated. The last one was the Sea of Qi. Although the 9-star god Emperor Art's true energy could not remove the 100 Ghosts curse, the power of the 100 Ghosts curse could not penetrate into the location of the Sea of Qi either. Therefore, although Qin Chen's cultivation had stagnated to a certain extent, it had been gradually improving. It can be said, these were the three main forbidden areas on Qin Chen's body. Apart from this, all parts of Qin Chen's body were unavoidable, even the undying saint body was the same, only the resistance was stronger. Going on like this was not a solution. These days, Qin Chen had been seeking solutions everywhere while receiving guidance from Qin Yuqi. The key was to find special demon fire, earth fire, and sacred objects. Finally, from Dongfang King and the others, Qin Chen learned of a place Wu City. Wu City was a large city located on the border of the Northwest Five Kingdoms. The Northwest Five Kingdoms had different relationships with each other. Some countries were more friendly, while others were more tense. For the sake of trade between all parties, Wu City was born. For hundreds of years, Wu City had been serving as the trading center for the warriors of the Northwest Five Kingdoms, and it had the largest auction house in the entire Northwest Five Kingdoms. It can be said that the most precious treasures in the entire Northwest Five Kingdoms, except for being treasured by the major forces, would eventually flow to Wu City for trading. It was said that as early as a few years ago, some special demon fires had been auctioned in Wu City, causing a sensation. It seems that I have to find a way to go to Wu City. Qin Chen frowned. There was still more than half a month before the final competition of the Five Kingdoms Grand Competition. However, Gu Nandu was located in the central area of the Northwest Five Kingdoms, not very far from Wu City, but it was on the way. 2 days later, Qin Yuqi finally left. Although she didn't want to leave at this time, Qin Yuqi understood that children were like eaglets. Without experiencing wind and rain, they would never spread their wings and fly, soaring through the 9 heavens. One day, he would leave alone to find his own world. Although Qin Yuqi was heartbroken, she also understood that this was the best choice. Moreover, for so many years, she had stayed in the Great Qi Kingdom for Qin Chen, guarding him for more than 10 years. She didn't feel anything before. But after knowing that her son was no longer mediocre, her heart had long flown outside. Seeing Qin Yuqi leaving, Qin Baishan and the others were reluctant, but they could understand. On the second day after Qin Yuqi left, Qin Chen left a letter and left the Great Qi Kingdom alone, heading to the distant Wu City. Hundreds of miles outside the royal capital of the Great Qi Kingdom, there was a continuous mountain range. Sunset Mountains. It was vast and boundless, covered with countless tall trees and vegetation. In addition, blood beasts were rampant, making it difficult to walk without strength. And this was also the most beloved adventure place for the warriors of the Great Qi Kingdom. Whoosh! In the depths of the Sunset Mountains, the most frightening place for warriors, a figure flashed past like lightning and landed on a large tree not far away. This person was wearing a black robe and looked handsome. It was Qin Chen. This is already deeper in the Sunset Mountains. There should be flying blood beasts appearing. Observing the surroundings, the young man showed a hint of anticipation on his face. Wucheng is located in the central area of the Northwest Five Kingdoms, far away from the Darky Kingdom. To get there, an ordinary carriage would take too long, several months at least. Even riding the flying Lin Blood Eyes would take at least 10 days to half a month. By then, the re-examination of the Five Kingdoms competition would have already started, and there wouldn't be enough time to make it. Therefore, Qin Chen thought of riding a flying blood beast. Flying blood beasts are extremely fast, traveling 10,000 miles a day with ease. Most importantly, they can fly over mountains and rivers, eliminating the need to detour and greatly reducing travel time. Sunset Mountain Range was the closest place to the royal capital where a flying blood beast could be found. Back then, Yuan Feng found the blood-clawed blue eagle he tamed in this Sunset Mountain Range. However, since it was his first time entering the Sunset Mountain Range, Qin Chen didn't know where to find a faster flying blood beast, so he headed towards the depths of the Sunset Mountain Range. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In this kind of primitive jungle, with towering ancient trees, ordinary martial artists would definitely get lost immediately if they entered for the first time without a guide, completely trapped and unable to leave. But Qin Chen, although it was his first time here, was very comfortable, as if walking in his own backyard, relaxed and at ease. About half a day later, Qin Chen had already arrived at the most central area of the Sunset Mountain Range. From here on, most of the blood beasts that appear are of the second-order level, and even occasionally third-order blood beasts appear, making it an extremely dangerous place. Even those powerful adventure groups would be cautious when they came here. This should be about right. Let's start searching seriously now. Qin Chen felt the aura of the blood beasts that occasionally appeared around him and nodded. Along the way, Qin Chen had also seen some flying blood beasts, but he hadn't made a move. In fact, although there are many flying blood beasts in the Sunset Mountain Range, it is not easy to find one that can carry people and has enough stamina. Some flying beasts are very fast, but they cannot travel long distances and lack endurance. Some blood beasts have good speed and endurance, but they are too small. Once they carry people, it becomes difficult. Still, other blood beasts fly too low and are prone to attracting natural enemies. Therefore, every flying blood beast is very precious and cannot be easily tamed. Whoosh! Walking casually in the mountains and forests, Qin Chen was not in a hurry, leisurely and carefree. Along the way, he also encountered many adventurers who showed curiosity when they saw that Qin Chen was alone. This little brother, this is the depths of the Sunset Mountain Range, it's very dangerous. Anyway, there aren't many people in our team, why don't you join us? If we gain something, we'll share it equally, how about it? Along the way, a team of several martial artists' eyes flashed, and they approached. Qin Chen didn't stop walking and said lightly, sorry, I have something to do. What could be more important than life? Little brother, you should be here for your first training, right? You're easily going to get into trouble coming to such a deep part of the Sunset Mountain Range alone. It's different with us. With our strength, hunting late-stage Earth-level blood beasts is a piece of cake. You can train, get benefits, and there's no danger to your life. Why not? The leading martial artist was thin, with a scar on his face, still patiently trying to persuade him, looking very enthusiastic. Qin Chen sneered, sorry, I'm not interested, goodbye. After saying that, he didn't look back, quickened his pace, whoosh, and swept into the forest, disappearing between the trees. HMPH, that kid is very shrewd, he doesn't look like he's here for his first training, he actually doesn't agree. The scar-faced man's expression was ugly, and his eyes were gloomy. Big brother, why did you waste so much time talking to him just now? In my opinion, why not just do it directly and kill him? He's so young, and he looks like he has a high cultivation level. He must be a disciple of some big family. These kinds of people are often wealthy. One big score would be enough for us to live comfortably for a long time. Yeah. Maybe he has a lot of high-level martial arts manuals on him that would be enough to increase our strength by a notch. The leading scar-faced man scolded, what do you know? That kid has sharp eyes, a terrible aura, and acts so experienced. He's definitely not an easy target. Be careful not to get tricked. The others were puzzled and said, Big brother, you're thinking too much, aren't you? A teenager in his teens, who's too young, what's there to be afraid of? It's precisely because he's too young that we need to be more careful. Don't you think about it, how could someone so young dare to enter the depths of the Sunset Mountain Range without any tricks? Moreover, if this person comes from a large force, he must be a key genius cultivated by them. Would that force not have any protection for someone like that entering the dangerous Sunset Mountain Range? You mean, there are strong people secretly protecting him? Everyone was shocked. That possibility can't be ruled out. The scar-faced man warned, we're licking blood off the edge of a knife, we can do anything, but we can't mess with the wrong people. Without absolute certainty, we'd rather miss an opportunity than take action. Don't joke with your own lives. That makes sense, no wonder you're the big brother, you think so carefully. Okay, stop flattering me, let's go. The group adjusted the direction and moved along another path. In the distance, Qin Chen sneered in his heart. The most dangerous thing in the mountains and forests is not the ferocious blood beasts, but the martial artists who kill each other for profit. This group of people must have regarded him as the kind of martial artist who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth and wanted to venture out. Once they were on the same team, they would try to find out his strength and then, in a hidden place, reveal their robber nature, killing and robbing him of his wealth. Qin Chen was more experienced in this kind of thing than they were. If he had time, he might have played with them out of interest. But now, forget it, he didn't have the time. Next, Qin Chen continued to move forward and found several more flying blood beasts, but from afar, either there was no opportunity or he wasn't satisfied. There's a cliff ahead, this is a good place. Suddenly, Qin Chen's eyes lit up. He saw a very high rock wall in the distance, with branches and weeds growing on it, which was very steep. Many flying blood beasts like to live on such cliffs, and he will definitely be able to find a blood beast that satisfies him. Go! His figure swayed and swept forward. A moment later, Qin Chen had approached the cliff, and sure enough, he found a huge nest in a very high place on the rock wall. It should be the nest of some kind of eagle-like blood beast. Qin Chen was just about to continue forward when he suddenly heard a rustling sound coming from the front. Looking up, he saw several figures in front, carrying weapons, seemingly patrolling nearby. These people's cultivation levels were all at the late stage of the Earth level, and their clothes were uniform, they should be from the same family or force. Who's there? Qin Chen didn't deliberately hide his figure. At the same time as he saw the other party also discovered him and immediately let out a loud shout and surrounded him. These individuals were alert, each holding a weapon, as they approached Qin Chen and surrounded him. So young. Seeing Qin Chen's age, they were visibly surprised, but the vigilance in their eyes did not dissipate. Who are you? The leading martial artist questioned him in a low voice. I am just a passerby, inadvertently passing through this place, and I have nothing to do with you, Qin Chen said. It was evident that they were a group of martial artists training in the Sunset Mountains. A passerby. The group frowned, exchanged glances, and seemed doubtful. Don't worry, everyone, I have no connection with you. If there is nothing else, I will take my leave, Qin Chen said. Waving his hand, Qin Chen continued to walk forward. Stop. You cannot go ahead. After only taking 2 steps, their expressions changed drastically. With a shua, they simultaneously drew their weapons, pointing them at Qin Chen, blocking his path. Can't go. Could it be that this road belongs to you? Qin Chen's expression darkened. Encountering martial artists in such a place and being wary of each other was normal and understandable. However, preventing him from going forward was excessive. The Sunset Mountains were not anyone's private property. Anyone could walk as they pleased, and no one had the right to stop them. Moreover, the cliff was just ahead. If he didn't go forward, would he have to retreat? Scanning the group, their cultivation was only at the late Earth realm. If they really wanted to cause trouble, he wouldn't mind teaching them a lesson. However, before he could say anything more, a cold shout came. What are you doing? Stop it, all of you. From the forest ahead, a few more people emerged. The leader was a woman in her early 20s, quite attractive, with the air of a well-bred young lady. Beside her was an old man, dressed in a grey robe, with an extraordinary demeanor. His eyes flashed with a sharp light, indicating that he was a heaven realm expert, and not a weak one. It was this grey-robed old man who had just shouted, Miss Steward who. Seeing the newcomers, the martial artists put away their weapons and saluted. What exactly is going on? The young lady and the old man glanced at the martial artists, then looked at Qin Chen, a look of surprise flashing in their eyes, clearly also astonished by Qin Chen's age. Miss Steward who. We were patrolling here when we found this person acting suspiciously. We told him he couldn't go ahead, but he insisted, so. Suspiciously. Qin Chen was speechless. He was acting so openly, yet they insisted on calling it suspicious. He couldn't help but sneer. If he really wanted to be sneaky, these guys probably wouldn't even have a chance to notice him. Oh. The old man listened without any expression, then cupped his fist at Qin Chen and said, Don't mind us, friend. We have no malicious intent. To be honest, we are from the Lu family of Wenyuan City and are here on important business. If you don't mind, could you please take a detour? This old man, would like to thank you in advance. Wenyuan City was a large city near the royal capital, with considerable overall strength and many forces and families. Sorry, I also have important business to attend to ahead, and it's inconvenient to take a detour, Qin Chen said. Since the other party was polite, Qin Chen was not overbearing. Important business. Ahead is a cliff face, and it's also the territory of the heaven realm blood beast Iron Feather Eagle. There's no way to go at all. What important business could you have there? You're clearly up to no good. One of the previous individuals snorted coldly. Qin Chen was stunned, then realized why the other party was so hostile. In their eyes, there was a cliff ahead, with no way to pass, yet he insisted on going, clearly with ulterior motives. However, after a brief pause, he was overjoyed. Iron Feather Eagle. I didn't expect that nest to be the Iron Feather Eagle's nest. Now, the flying beast has been found. The Iron Feather Eagle was a heaven realm blood beast, not only possessing formidable strength but also extremely fast flight speed and excellent endurance. It could be said to be a rare flying blood beast among heaven realm blood beasts. In terms of speed alone, it was even stronger than the Bloodclaw Azure Eagle subdued by Grandmaster Yuan Feng. Since it's the Iron Feather Eagle's territory, then I have even more reason to go, Qin Chen said. Don't tell me, kid, you're thinking of going after the Iron Feather Eagle. The group looked at Qin Chen with disdain. What a joke. The Iron Feather Eagle was a big deal, a Heaven Realm blood beast, and not a weak one at that. For martial artists entering the Sunset Mountains, the last thing they wanted to provoke was flying blood beasts, because once these blood beasts couldn't be defeated, they could escape, making it impossible to kill them. Moreover, they could keep a close eye on you, repeatedly ambushing you. That's right, Qin Chen said. Who knew that Qin Chen would actually nod? Miss Steward Hu, did you see that? He's clearly doing this on purpose. A young boy actually says he's here for the Iron Feather Eagle. Isn't that nonsense? The group's expressions became even more displeased, revealing murderous intent. They were familiar with the Iron Feather Eagle, having been active nearby for years. Even profound realm martial artists wouldn't dare to deal with it easily. Yet this kid actually said he wanted to go after the Iron Feather Eagle, clearly talking nonsense and harboring ulterior motives. Even the old man frowned and looked at Qin Chen intently. For a moment, the atmosphere became tense. Forget it. Since the other party insists on going forward, we have no right to stop him. Let him pass, the young lady suddenly said, waving her hand. Miss. The group immediately became anxious. The Sunset Mountains don't belong to our Lu family, and we have no right to stop anyone. Let him pass, the young lady said coldly. The young lady seemed like a well-bred young lady, but she was decisive and independent. With her saying so, the other martial artists immediately stopped talking, only glaring at Qin Chen warily. Qin Chen nodded and walked through the crowd. Miss. The old man reminded her from the side. Old Hu, we have no reason to stop others, and I don't think this person seems like a bad person. Just keep an eye on him, the young lady said. All right. The old man nodded. The group followed Qin Chen closely, their eyes fixed on him. After walking for a while, a rich medicinal fragrance suddenly wafted from ahead. Turning his head, he saw a clearing in the forest ahead with a medicinal garden, guarded by many martial artists dressed in the same clothes as the previous ones. And in the medicinal garden, there were several figures dressed as apothecaries, carefully collecting medicinal herbs. So they discovered a medicinal garden here, which is why they didn't want me to come in, Qin Chen realized. Martial artists risked their lives in the mountains, most afraid of revealing their wealth. Such a large medicinal garden, although most of the herbs inside were only second tier, there were also some third tier herbs. Calculated, it was worth at least hundreds of thousands of silver coins. No wonder they were so nervous. Suddenly, Qin Chen seemed to notice something. He stopped and then strode towards the medicinal field. What do you want to do? Several stern shouts rang out. The previous martial artists rushed towards Qin Chen, their eyes sharp and expressions angry, almost ready to attack. The young lady and steward who also walked over. Even the alchemists inside were alarmed and looked up. Miss Steward Hu, I told you this kid had bad intentions. He made it sound nice, just passing through, but now you see, he's clearly coveting our medicinal garden. In my opinion, we should capture this kid and interrogate him thoroughly. I suspect he has accomplices nearby. The martial artist who had been extremely rude to Qin Chen earlier shouted repeatedly, scolding loudly. Don't talk nonsense. The woman scolded, then stepped forward, looked at Qin Chen, and said, Sir, what are you? That's knotgrass, right? I just want to buy a few knotgrass plants. Qin Chen pointed to the medicinal field in front. Is Your Excellency also an alchemist? The woman was taken aback. Knotgrass is a very rare and uncommon medicinal herb, and its grade is only tier 1. It has little value in the market. Even families like theirs, who have been dealing in medicinal herbs for many years, may not all recognize it. Qin Chen's immediate recognition surprised her. I wouldn't dare call myself an alchemist, I just happen to recognize it. Happen to? How come I don't recognize such a coincidence? The martial artist snorted again, his eyes unfriendly. Tong-san, shut your mouth. If you speak again, don't blame me for being impolite. The young woman's face darkened, and she glanced at the martial artist with displeasure. Miss, Tong-san opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but seeing the woman's displeased expression, he closed his mouth and glared fiercely at Qin Chen. The woman waved her hand, and immediately, an alchemist brought over a handful of knotgrass. Since young master needs it, please take it. Thank you. Here are 100 silver coins, as payment for the knotgrass. Qin Chen took out 100 silver coins. No need. Young master is too polite. These knotgrass plants aren't worth much. The woman waved her hand repeatedly. Anyway, knotgrass is worthless. No one will buy it even if we bring it back. What does it matter if we give him some? Qin Chen casually took out 100 silver coins and threw them to her. Ignoring whether she accepted them, he turned and left. Miss, why bother talking to him? Look at his pretentious act. He doesn't seem like a good person. The martial artist stepped forward and snorted coldly. Tong-san, not to criticize you, but if you act so rashly again in the future, don't blame me for being impolite. The woman snorted coldly. Miss, I also think this person is a bit strange. Although knotgrass is a medicinal herb, it's not very useful. What is he buying it for? Steward Hu frowned at this moment. Let's just watch. Everyone watched from a distance, and saw Qin Chen walk to the nest at the cliff face, looking up at something. This kid, could he really be here to find the iron feather eagle? The group was stunned. They also felt it was a bit unbelievable. How terrifying was the iron feather eagle? One claw and this kid would probably be torn into shreds. Ignore him. We'll continue collecting medicinal herbs. Tell the people below to speed up the collection and leave as soon as possible after finishing. The woman frowned. Although she didn't know what Qin Chen was up to, leaving as soon as possible was never a bad thing. Yes, soon. The alchemists below sped up the collection. Miss, look at that kid. What's he up to again? Suddenly, the guard martial artist exclaimed again. Everyone looked up and saw Qin Chen constantly throwing something around. Because they were far away, they couldn't see clearly. It looks like true stones. Only Steward Hu, with the highest cultivation, seemed to recognize something and frowned. True stones. Steward Hu, are you mistaken? The guards widened their eyes. What a joke. True stones were rare treasures in the Great Qi Kingdom. Even the worst low-grade true stone cost 100,000 silver coins, and that was just the surface market price. You couldn't buy them even if you wanted to. The kid had just casually thrown out 10 or so, wouldn't that be over 1 million? Their Lu family could be considered a large family in Wenyun City, but their annual profit was only 300 to 500,000 silver coins. Casually throwing away the Lu family's profits for several years, who could believe it? Perhaps I was mistaken. Steward Hu was also a little uncertain. Huh. What is that kid burning? After throwing out more than 10 white stone-like objects, Qin Chen squatted down and burned something. A fragrant but strange smell wafted over from afar. It smells like knotgrass. This guy spent 100 silver coins to buy a pile of knotgrass just to burn it. This guy is crazy. Everyone was dumbfounded and almost went insane. They couldn't understand anything Qin Chen was doing. Just as they were pondering, they heard a sharp cry overhead. Immediately afterward, they saw a huge shadow covering the sky, swooping down. Seeing the black shadow overhead, everyone in the Lu family was stunned, their expressions wooden, almost scared stiff. The black shadow was several meters long, hanging high in the sky. Each feather shone with a metallic luster, as if made of steel. Its wings spread out like 2 battle blades, majestic and awe-inspiring. Even before it landed, it gave people a huge sense of oppression. Wasn't that the iron feather eagle? How could it be? At this time, it should be the iron feather eagle's hunting time. Why would it suddenly return? We're doomed. If the iron feather eagle finds us, we're afraid we'll all die here. Hide. Hide quickly. Everyone was frightened and hid behind rocks and bushes, their bodies trembling, looking up at the sky, afraid to breathe. They had been active here for many years and knew the iron feather eagle's strength very well. If this blood beast went berserk, they wouldn't be able to stop it, and there would definitely be heavy casualties. However, they had been observing here for many days and knew that this was the iron feather eagle's hunting time. It wouldn't return in less than an hour on ordinary days. Why did it return so quickly today? Could it be that the young man was responsible? Just as they were pondering, they saw the iron feather eagle swooping down towards the young man at the cliff face. As the iron-feather eagle got closer and closer, the sense of oppression on him became more and more intense. Its ferocious eyes, streamlined body, and amazing power, even among Heaven Realm experts, it was likely that 3 or 5 of the same level would not be its match in a real fight. Whoosh! The iron-feather eagle's speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it swooped down. It seemed to be angered. With a violent cry, its sharp claws directly tore at Qin Chen's body. It's over. Everyone closed their eyes. They knew that the young man was doomed. Whoosh! In the sky, a violent wind howled, as if a level 10 gale had risen. The iron-feathered eagle's claws were incredibly huge, like a large net, firmly locking down Qin Chen, and sharply grabbing down. Manager Hu and the others, who had been adventuring in this area for many years, naturally knew the terror of the iron-feathered eagle. With this claw attack, even a late-stage peak heaven-level martial artist might not be able to dodge it. Not to mention this teenager, who was only 16 or 17 years old, would definitely be killed with one claw. Just when everyone thought that Qin Chen was bound to die. Suddenly, swish! The opposite teenager suddenly made a strange movement, and in a flash, he barely managed to dodge the iron-feathered eagle's attack. What? He actually dodged it! The crowd exclaimed, each one stunned. Such a fierce attack, and under the pressure of the iron-feathered eagle's terrifying aura, it would be difficult for them to even move. Yet the other party dodged so easily. The rock below exploded from the missed attack, as if an earthquake had occurred. The iron-feathered eagle was also enraged, never expecting such a small thing to be able to dodge its attack. With an angry screech, its wings spread out like sharp blades, sweeping towards Qin Chen. Whoosh! The wings, more than 2 meters long, sliced through the air, and the air immediately rippled like water, split by a long wave. The dark iron feathers shone with a blade-like luster under the sunlight, filled with a ferocious aura. It's over. Alas! Even if he can dodge once, so what? The iron-feathered eagle is different from ordinary blood beasts, its strength is amazing, so he will still die. The Lu family's herb-collecting team couldn't help but shake their heads, each with a look of pity. Unfortunately, before they could even sigh, they saw Qin Chen on the opposite side suddenly grin. Thump! They all fell to the ground, their eyes popping out. Is this guy's brain broken? It's already this time, shouldn't he be running away, instead of smiling? Damn! Smile at your sister. Do you think you're a beauty? With such a smile, the iron-feathered eagle will be so moved that it won't kill you anymore. Did water get into your brain? Seeing that Qin Chen was about to die under the iron-feathered eagle's wing strike. Buzz! 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 At this moment, countless white lights suddenly lit up around Qin Chen. These white lights were like vines, quickly wrapping around the iron-feathered eagle. Chirp! The iron-feathered eagle was shocked and hurriedly wanted to soar into the sky, but it was too late. Countless white lights crisscrossed, instantly binding the iron-feathered eagle firmly in place. Thump! The previously mighty and awe-inspiring iron-feathered eagle fell to the ground, bound like a rice dumpling. What is this? What happened? Why is the iron-feathered eagle tied up? Everyone was dumbfounded, startled, and their mouths were almost unable to close. Earlier, the teenager was about to fall and be killed by the iron-feathered eagle, but how could it suddenly be that the teenager was fine, but the iron-feathered eagle was tied up instead, stunning everyone's eyes? It's a formation. Suddenly, Manager Hu's eyes narrowed, and he said in a deep voice. A formation. Everyone was stunned, and then they came back to their senses. Indeed, this white light contains strong true energy fluctuations. If it's not a formation, what is it? It's just that there was clearly nothing before, and the teenager casually threw out more than a dozen white stones, forming a formation that even the iron-feathered eagle could bind. How terrifying is that? You must know that the iron-feathered eagle is a third-order heaven-level blood beast, and to bind it, it must be at least a third-order formation or higher. Hiss! They couldn't help but gasp, taking a breath of cold air. Casually setting up a formation above the third order, what is the origin of this teenager? On the opposite side, Qin Chen naturally didn't know the shock of these people, and even if he knew, he wouldn't care. Finally, the iron-feathered eagle is restrained. Straightening his clothes, Qin Chen looked leisurely at the iron-feathered eagle in front of him. The most troublesome thing about avian blood beasts is that they can fly. Once they are not opponents, they can easily escape, which is why many martial artists dare not provoke avian blood beasts. In order to catch this iron-feathered eagle, Qin Chen specially refined a beast trapping formation. This kind of formation is specially used by beast tamers to restrain blood beasts, and the effect is very amazing. At the same time, in order to attract the iron-feathered eagle, Qin Chen also ignited knotweed grass. Knotweed grass contains a special energy that can help the iron-feathered eagle's wings evolve, becoming harder and more metallic. Therefore, there will generally be knotweed grass near the iron-feathered eagle's habitat. Moreover, the smell of knotweed grass is also the iron-feathered eagle's favorite smell. Once burned, it can quickly spread to dozens of miles away, attracting the iron-feathered eagle that is out hunting back. TSK, not bad, not bad. Looking at the iron-feathered eagle in front of him, Qin Chen couldn't help but nod in satisfaction. He saw that this iron-feathered eagle had knotted muscles all over its body, and its iron feathers shone, indicating that it had just entered its prime. This type of iron-feathered eagle has the fastest flying speed and the longest endurance, belonging to its strongest period, which is exactly what he needed. Chirp, chirp. Bound by countless formation white lights, the iron-feathered eagle let out an angry hiss. Its wings kept flapping, and the violent wind blew the surrounding sand and rocks, and a strong aura constantly impacted Qin Chen. In the distance, the Lu family's herb collecting team kept looking over. At this moment, they had long believed that Qin Chen came here for the iron-feathered eagle, but they were just curious about what the other party's purpose was in restraining the iron-feathered eagle. Being so prepared, it certainly wouldn't be aimless. Could it be that the other party's bloodline is similar to the attributes of the iron-feathered eagle, so they want to hunt its blood crystal to improve their own bloodline level? Very likely. Just as everyone was guessing Qin Chen's purpose in finding the iron-feathered eagle, they heard the frivolous voice of the teenager on the opposite side faintly echoing. Little eagle, you should stop struggling. This is a beast trapping formation specially designed to deal with blood beasts. No matter how you struggle, you can't escape. It's better to save your energy. Hearing this, everyone's body swayed. Is this kid brain dead? Since you are hunting the iron-feathered eagle, wouldn't it be better to take this opportunity to kill it directly? You're still talking nonsense. Aren't you afraid that the iron-feathered eagle will break through the formation and kill you? Sure enough, hearing the kid's words, the iron-feathered eagle struggled even more violently, and the terrifying ferocity made him feel breathless even standing so far away. Don't get excited. Actually, I came here this time not to kill you, but to go to a place. The journey is long, so I'll let you give me a ride. Qin Chen said again, unhurriedly. What? Manager Hu and the others almost fainted. After all this, you're here to tame this iron-feathered eagle. It's just that your taming method is a bit too strange. The few people looked at each other, their eyes like they were looking at an idiot. Although they weren't beast tamers, they were from a prominent family in Wenyuan City and had heard of some beast taming methods. Generally, beast tamers have two methods to tame a blood beast. The first method is to nurture cubs, capturing a blood beast's cub and raising it. These types of blood beasts, being with the beast tamer from a young age, would gradually have their ferocious nature worn away, slowly becoming dependent on the beast tamer, and eventually becoming their beast pet. The second method is to utilize some of the blood beast's emotions, such as temptation, suppression, gratitude, and so on. However, the prerequisite for this method is to capture the blood beast. Only by capturing it can various methods be employed. After all, blood beasts are also living beings, with emotions and desires. Once it fears you, or is grateful to you, or wants to obtain some benefits from you, it will naturally obey you. However, this method also requires a lot of time, and there are different methods for different blood beasts, varying greatly. But this was the first time they had ever heard of someone talking directly to a blood beast like Qin Chen. Big brother, do you think this blood beast is a person? If you tell it not to get excited, it won't get excited. If you tell it to take you, it will take you. Aren't you just joking? But to everyone's surprise, after Qin Chen said this, the Iron Feather Eagle actually seemed to understand and became a little calmer. That's right. Don't worry, I won't harm you. As long as you take me there, you'll get plenty of benefits. Qin Chen said again. Thump. This time, they couldn't hold back any longer, and a group of people all fell to the ground. Plenty of benefits. Why does this sound less like taming a beast and more like a creepy uncle trying to trick a child? Is this even useful? Your Excellency, you can't tame the Iron Feather Eagle like this. Unable to bear it any longer, the girl walked out from behind the bushes and said speechlessly. But before she could finish speaking, she saw the Iron Feather Eagle let out a long cry, and Qin Chen suddenly smiled. If you say so, I'll take it as you've agreed. Then, with a wave of his hand, swish swish swish, the dozen or so true stones he had thrown into the surroundings earlier all returned to his hand like swallows returning to their nest. Losing the control of the formation, those white lights instantly disappeared, and the Iron Feather Eagle completely broke free. Miss. Danger. With a low cry, Steward Hu's expression changed drastically, and he hurriedly pulled the girl back. Then, he looked at Qin Chen in horror, almost fainting. Is this kid an idiot? This is the Iron Feather Eagle, one of the most brutal avian blood beasts in Sunset Mountain Range. You just say a few words to it and remove the formation. Do you really think it's a 3-year-old child that can be easily tricked? It's over, it's over. Earlier, he had easily bound the Iron Feather Eagle, thinking he was some amazing figure, but now it seems he's worse than an idiot. With this kind of IQ, going out would definitely lead to death in minutes. Miss. After the Iron Feather Eagle kills that kid, it will definitely discover us. When that happens, you should run out of Sunset Mountain Range as soon as possible. I will try my best to delay the Iron Feather Eagle to buy you time. With a nervous expression, Steward Hu's lips trembled. Once the Iron Feather Eagle becomes enraged, he really has no confidence in stopping it. The other guards also turned pale, their legs going weak one by one. However, just as he finished speaking, he saw the Liu family's young lady's eyes widen suddenly, looking ahead as if she had seen a ghost, a look of horror in her eyes. Miss. Did you hear me? Miss. A. Seeing this expression, Steward Hu couldn't help but become curious and turned his head to look. Instantly, his eyeballs almost fell to the ground. He saw that after the formation was removed, the Iron Feather Eagle did not attack the young man. Instead, it came to Qin Chen, its head slightly bowed, its body lowered, lying on the ground, as if kneeling, a look of anticipation in its eyes. Is this bowing down in submission? Has the Iron Feather Eagle truly submitted to him? Although he wasn't a beast tamer himself, Steward Hu had at least seen other beast tamers taming beasts. Under normal circumstances, a blood beast bowing down represents complete submission to the other party, intending to become the other party's beast pet. He only felt a tightness in his chest, almost spitting blood. What the heck is going on? That young man didn't do anything, just said a few words casually, and the Iron Feather Eagle actually submitted. And it submitted so naturally. Big brother, you're the Iron Feather Eagle, a heaven-tier blood beast, aren't you supposed to be very brutal? Why did you submit so quickly, not even as good as a pug? Steward Hu only felt dizzy, his brain unable to process it. In fact, they didn't know that when Qin Chen was talking to the Iron Feather Eagle, he was using a very advanced beast taming technique called Divine Word Beast Control Art. This is an extremely terrifying beast taming secret technique, far surpassing ordinary beast taming methods on the market. Verbal instruction is merely expressing an effect, letting the blood beast understand one's attitude from the tone and expression. The real confrontation is actually between the spirits of both sides. Every time he spoke, Qin Chen would release a powerful spiritual force to control the Iron Feather Eagle. This control was subtle and extremely clever. When Qin Chen's spiritual force was not strong enough, it was enough for him to communicate with the blood-clawed Azure Eagle and attack Zhang Yi. Now his spiritual force has increased several times, and his soul force has even reached the point of gathering the soul and solidifying the form, so controlling an Iron Feather Eagle is simply too easy. Whoosh! With a shake of his figure, Qin Chen instantly landed on the Iron Feather Eagle's back. Let's go! An invisible spiritual force entered the Iron Feather Eagle's mind. Receiving the command, the iron feather eagle flapped its wings, instantly soaring into the sky. The violent wind blew the surrounding mountains and forests, making a rustling sound. In the blink of an eye, it became the size of soybeans and disappeared into the horizon. This, not far away, Stuart Hu and the others were all stunned, their jaws dropping, unable to believe it. Miss, is this real? That kid tamed the iron feather eagle and flew away. Am I not dreaming? Hurry up and hit me to see if I'm dreaming. This is simply amazing. Looking at each other, everyone was going crazy. Even seeing it with their own eyes, they found it hard to believe. It is said that beast tamer is one of the most difficult professions among countless professions. Why does it seem so easy now? Just say a few words and it completely submits. Is this really true? Just as they were shocked, they saw the young lady still staring blankly at the direction the other party had left, a look of regret and admiration in her eyes. Just now, if I could have gotten to know him, how great would that have been? Under the gaze of everyone, the girl sighed softly. Stuart Hu's old face turned red, and as for Tong San, he was so ashamed that he couldn't wait to hide underground. If they hadn't doubted the other party before, and even spoke harshly and almost attacked, perhaps their Lu family would have been able to get to know such an expert. Alas, don't think too much. This child is so terrifying, he must have an extraordinary background. Although our Lu family is large, we are ultimately not on the same level as him. In the end, Stuart Hu sighed. Everyone remained silent, but in their hearts, they agreed completely. Huff. Above the boundless sky, Qin Chen rode the iron feather eagle, speeding forward. On both sides, white clouds drifted by, and the wind howled. The iron feather eagle's massive body soared through the air, its heaven-tier pressure released, deterring most flying blood beasts from approaching. Heaven-tier blood beasts were already incredibly terrifying in places like the Northwest Five Nations. Although there were profound-tier blood beasts above them, their numbers were often very scarce. As for sect-tier blood beasts, it was said that apart from the Demon Ancestor mountain range, they were unlikely to appear in most of the other mountain ranges of the Northwest Five Nations. Looking down at the endless wilderness below, Qin Chen sat cross-legged on the iron feather eagle's back, observing the surroundings while absorbing the true energy of the world. The iron feather eagle's flight altitude was as high as several thousand meters, making it one of the fastest flying blood beasts, which was why Qin Chen chose it. If he rode other heaven-tier blood beasts, although the deterrent force would still be there, they would still be harassed by many other flying blood beasts, and with too many encounters, danger would be inevitable. The big river below is the Kanglang River. After crossing the Kanglang River, it will be the Xuanzhong mountain range, and Wucheng is located on the plain outside the Xuanzhong mountain range. At most, it should be reached in half a day. Taking out the map and comparing it, Qin Chen revealed a satisfied smile. Starting from the Sunset Mountain range and approaching Wucheng only took 2 days. If he rode a horse, it would be impossible in 2 or 3 months. This was the importance of flying blood beasts. While flying, Qin Chen pondered how to open up the situation after arriving in Wucheng. According to the information he had obtained, Wucheng was a rather chaotic city. After all, this place was not under the jurisdiction of any of the Five Nations. Many powerhouses from the Northwest Five Nations gathered here, and even some wanted criminals from various countries were hiding in Wucheng. Although it was not a lawless place, there was a lot of chaos going on in the dark. Qin Chen's purpose here was to find something. In this situation, directly contacting a major force in Wucheng was often the easiest way. But the problem was that Qin Chen didn't know anything about the forces in Wucheng. Finding a breakthrough was not that easy. First enter Wucheng, then find a way to get a general understanding of the forces in Wucheng, and finally find a way to find the treasure. Sorting out his thoughts, Qin Chen could only settle on such a plan for the time being. Just as he was thinking, the iron feather eagle had already crossed the Kanglang River and arrived above the Xuanzhong mountain range. The entire mountain range stretched for thousands of kilometers, and the rocks on it seemed to contain some kind of heavy metal substance. Looking from above, the entire mountain range was dark black, giving people a sense of heaviness. Perhaps this was the origin of the name Xuanzhong mountain range. The mountain range undulated and stretched, like a huge rock embedded in the vast land. Half a day later, Qin Chen arrived at the edge of the other side of the Xuanzun mountain range. An ancient city stood on the plain not far outside the Xuanzun mountain range, ancient and simple. This is Wucheng. It was said that Wucheng had a history of several hundred years, even longer than the lifespan of many kingdoms in the northwest. From a distance, it did indeed have a sense of antiquity. In terms of scale, Wucheng was similar to the royal capital of the Darqi Kingdom, or even slightly larger. After all, it was the largest trading center in the Northwest Five Nations. First leave the Iron Feather Eagle here outside the Xuanzun mountain range, and then enter Wucheng. Wucheng was the trading center of the Northwest Five Nations, involving the interests of various countries. Various conflicts often broke out, and various struggles were countless. The Iron Feather Eagle was, after all, a heaven-tier blood beast with a huge size. Once it entered Wucheng, it would immediately become the object of everyone's attention. In terms of strength, Qin Chen was not afraid of even profound-tier warriors now, but he was not invincible after all. Moreover, in a chaotic place like Wucheng, where forces were intertwined, it was better to be discreet. Bang! With a pat on the Iron Feather Eagle's head, Qin Chen issued a mental command. The Iron Feather Eagle immediately received the order and swooped towards the Xuanzun mountain range below. Landing outside the Xuanzun mountain range, Qin Chen gave the Iron Feather Eagle the order not to run around and headed towards the outside of the Xuanzun mountain range. PFFT. A sword light flashed, and a silver moon wolf king, whose entire body was silvery white, was cut in two with one sword. After the head and body were separated, they flew out dozens of meters before falling heavily, blood splattering everywhere. Oh woo! The remaining silver moon wolves around, seeing the death of the Wolf King, let out long howls, their faces filled with fear, and scattered and fled. This Xuanzun mountain range is not simple. Even in such an outer area, there is actually a silver moon wolf king, a peak late earth tier blood beast. Returning the mysterious rust sword to its scabbard, Qin Chen shook his head and continued forward. Inside a mountain forest, the surroundings were covered with green moss, and there was black-brown mucus everywhere, very gloomy and humid. Nearby was an open space. In this area, the rocks were gray-brown, lifeless, and there was not a single tree. At this time, in the open space in the forest, a group of people was gathered here. Opposite them was a huge lizard monster more than 2 meters tall. This huge lizard was colorful, with a total of 3 eyes. A large amount of mucus was secreted from its body, making people feel very disgusting. Miss, you go quickly, we will stop this beast. The leader was a middle-aged man, his clothes were torn and quite embarrassed, but his face was resolute. He repeatedly said to a red-clothed girl behind him. Beside him stood a group of guards in armor, their faces pale, and their hands holding weapons trembled uncontrollably. No. Uncle Zhang, how can I run away alone? We will stay together, we will leave together. Although the red-clothed girl's face was pale, her eyes were extremely firm, and she said without allowing any doubt. She held a pair of cicada wing knives in her hand, and faint true energy lingered around them. Hearing this, a green-clothed youth beside the girl showed a look of anxiety. Yanzi, the 3-eyed salamander is a heaven-tier blood beast, and it is sensitive to perception and excels in speed. You can't help here, you might as well go back first, otherwise none of us will be able to leave. Mingzheng, don't stay either, go back with the miss. The middle-aged man at the head sank his face and shouted in a low voice, the anxiety in his eyes becoming more and more intense. The youth's face showed determination. I won't leave you alone. Don't you even listen to me anymore. The middle-aged man trembled with anger. At this time, what strength are you trying to show? If you stay, who will take the miss back? By then, none of us will be able to leave. Listen to me, leave immediately. The middle-aged man gave a death order. Dad. Pain appeared in the youth's eyes. One was his father, and the other was the miss he admired. He was unwilling to give up either of them. Gurgle. At this time, the 3-eyed salamander seized the opportunity, its stomach made a huge roar, and it suddenly pounced up. Ah! With a scream, a guard was unable to dodge, and was instantly wrapped in the tongue of the 3-eyed salamander, swallowed, and disappeared without a trace. The majority of these martial artists were of Earth realm cultivation. How could they withstand a heaven realm blood beast? They couldn't parry even a single blow, becoming food for the three-eyed salamander. Damn this beast! The middle-aged man roared. He gripped his battle blade, his muscles bulging as he unleashed a shocking power, slashing at the three-eyed salamander. Swish! A sharp blade aura, like a curtain of the sky, surged forth, directly aimed at the three-eyed salamander. The blade aura contained astonishing true energy, at least of the heaven realm. If it hit, it could at least injure the three-eyed salamander. However, the three-eyed salamander was extremely fast and had been on guard. The moment the middle-aged man attacked, it swung its limbs, its figure like a phantom, dodging the blade aura. Then, towards the other two guards, its tongue shot out swiftly. Swish! The scarlet tongue was more than 2 meters long. With a phew sound, it pierced through a guard's head, impaling his brain. Blood and brain matter instantly splattered. Ah! The middle-aged man roared furiously, a khaki-colored halo lighting up around him. The power in his hand surged, and waves of thick blade light swept out like a raging tide, stirring up a monstrous wave in the forest. But it was useless. He couldn't even touch the three-eyed salamander's body, only able to watch helplessly as it killed his guards one after another. The three-eyed salamander, although massive, is extremely fast. Even a peak mid-stage heaven realm martial artist would find it difficult to injure it, let alone someone who only has peak early-stage heaven realm cultivation. On a large tree not far away, a figure emerged, watching the scene below and muttering to himself. The newcomer was Qin Chen. He had been preparing to cross the profound heavy mountain range and enter Martial City when he heard fighting sounds nearby, so he followed the sound and saw this scene. The three-eyed salamander, a blood beast, is very rare, but its entire body is a treasure. Its various organs can be used for medicinal purposes, and its third eye has special medicinal value, able to treat many diseases, making it very precious. I didn't expect these guys to actually find a three-eyed salamander. Unfortunately, their strength is insufficient. Even if they find a treasure, they are unable to take it back and will instead die from greed. Hululu. Surrounded by nearly 10 guards, the three-eyed salamander's massive body constantly moved, while its long, thin tongue, more than 2 meters long, was extremely fast, impossible to catch with the naked eye. Combined with its flexible tail, it was simply invincible. PFFT, PFFT, PFFT. In the blink of an eye, 3 more guards screamed miserably, dying under its long tongue and giant tail. Damn it! The middle-aged man roared repeatedly, attacking frantically, but he couldn't do anything to it. Other than chopping the entire forest into a mess, he didn't do much damage to the three-eyed salamander. Even if he occasionally hit it, it only left a few tiny wounds, which could only be considered minor injuries and couldn't stop the three-eyed salamander's movements. Whoosh! After killing several terrified guards, the three-eyed salamander's bizarre eyes turned and instantly locked onto the red-clothed girl not far away, its body swaying as it charged over. Get out of the way! Seeing this, the blue-clothed youth's expression changed drastically, and he hurriedly stood in front of the red-clothed girl, stabbing out with his sword. This person's cultivation was not bad. In his 20s, he actually had peak late-stage Earth realm cultivation. A faint true energy lingered on his long sword, emitting a rapid sound of tearing through the air. But no matter how fast he was, he couldn't be faster than the three-eyed salamander. Before he knew it, the three-eyed salamander had already come to his side. Its body slammed into him, and he flew out like a broken sack, spitting out blood. Hiss! The three-eyed salamander's bizarre eyes, like a snake's tongue flicking, stared at the red-clothed girl and pounced over. Miss! Everyone present exclaimed, rushing forward desperately. Especially the middle-aged man called Uncle Zhang, seeing that the young lady was about to be in danger, his face showed horror, and he rushed forward frantically. But just as he came close, the three-eyed salamander seemed to have expected it. Its giant tail swept out like a phantom, hitting his chest. Bang! The protective true energy shattered instantly, and the breastplate on the middle-aged man's body caved in. He flew out upside down. Without the middle-aged man's obstruction, the other guards couldn't get close to the three-eyed salamander, only able to watch helplessly as the three-eyed salamander flicked its tongue, knocking the cicada wing blade from the red-clothed girl's hand, then coiled around her, pulling her towards its open maw. No, Miss Yanzi. The crowd roared angrily, their eyes wide with rage, their faces filled with pain, but they were all powerless. If the young lady was to have an accident, how could they explain it to the family head, even if they survived? Run. Before her death, the red-clothed girl shouted out, her voice desolate. Just when she was about to fall. Suddenly, a sword aura flashed past, and the three-eyed salamander's tongue was severed in midair. The girl fell to the ground, dazed and confused. Having narrowly escaped death, she didn't know what had happened and quickly retreated. Miss, are you all right? The middle-aged man and the blue-clothed youth, along with many guards, all rushed forward, each looking disheveled, not even having time to wipe the blood from the corners of their mouths. I'm fine. The red-clothed girl, her soul not yet settled, the composure she had shown before her impending death was merely a decision she had made knowing she was going to die. Now that she had truly escaped death, she couldn't help but feel lingering fear, her legs weak. Who exactly made the move just now? The crowd all raised their heads, looking in the direction from which the sword aura had come. At this sight, they couldn't help but reveal horror. The person who had made the move was only 16 or 17 years old, still looking somewhat green, holding a rusty sword that was very inconspicuous. But no one dared to underestimate him. The power of that sword just now was extremely terrifying, easily severing the three-eyed salamander's tongue, at least of mid-stage heaven realm cultivation. Was this still a human? A strange look flashed across the middle-aged man's face, and he hurriedly cupped his fist and said, "Thank you, young hero, for saving my life. Zhang Han will never forget your kindness." Although he was also shocked, he was, after all, the most experienced person present and knew that there were some top geniuses in the Northwest Five Kingdoms who, at a young age, possessed strength no weaker than the older generation of experts. It seemed that the young man before him should be one of these people. Swish. With a sway of his body, Qin Chen came directly in front of the crowd and said indifferently, "It was just a small effort, not worth mentioning. No, if it weren't for the young hero, our young lady would have been in danger just now." The middle-aged man shook his head, his expression solemn. Qin Chen said it was a small effort, which was a polite way of saying it. He didn't dare to think so. However, he had been in Martial City for decades and had never heard of such a person in Martial City. It seemed that he should be a foreign genius. Just as he was about to ask about Qin Chen's origins, his expression suddenly changed. He stared behind Qin Chen and exclaimed, "Be careful." Behind Qin Chen, the three-eyed salamander, after having its tongue cut off, did not die but instead became even more violent. All three of its eyes turned blood red, and its body suddenly swelled up, pouncing towards Qin Chen ferociously. At this moment, Qin Chen was facing the middle-aged man and the others, completely unaware of what was happening behind him. The red-clothed girl and the middle-aged man's eyes widened instantly, revealing horror. They wanted to act, but it was already too late. The three-eyed salamander was about to pounce on Qin Chen. Whoosh! As if Qin Chen had eyes in the back of his head, he suddenly turned around, and a flash of a bright sword light flew out, striking the head of the three-eyed salamander directly. Poochie! The three-eyed salamander let out a muffled cry, its skull split open with a wound several feet long, and blue-green blood sprayed out uncontrollably. Its huge body flipped over, smashing countless rocks and trees, creating a rumbling sound. Die. This three-eyed salamander's defense was extremely terrifying, its body fat exceeding that of ordinary blood beasts. Qin Chen's casual sword strike had not killed it yet. Unwilling to waste time, he thrust out his sword into the air. With this sword, Qin Chen exerted a little force. Poochie! A faint, hair-thin sword light flashed in the void, disappearing in an instant, and pierced into the three-eyed salamander's head. Below the third eye on the three-eyed salamander's forehead, a thumb-thick sword hole appeared. The sword energy directly entered its brain, turning it into a mass of mush. Its body twitched for a moment before its life force dissipated, and it died completely. Chila. Another sword strike, and a gash appeared on the three-eyed salamander's body. Clang! Sheathing his sword, Qin Chen grabbed with his 5 fingers, and the three-eyed salamander's blood crystal burst out of its chest, sucked into his hand in midair. Hiss! So strong! He killed the three-eyed salamander with just one sword. How could this child's strength be so terrifying? The three-eyed salamander is a heaven-level blood beast. Even if the family head took action, he might not be able to do this, right? Truly terrifying. The surviving guards were all dumbfounded, unable to help but gasp for air. Previously, they had exhausted all their efforts but were no match for the three-eyed salamander. They never expected that this young man would kill the three-eyed salamander, which so many of them couldn't defeat, with a casual sword strike. How could there be such a terrifying genius in this world? Young hero, I am Zhu Yan, and these are all guards of my Zhu family. Thank you for your help earlier, which allowed us to survive. The red-clothed girl revealed a look of admiration in her eyes, feeling lingering fear. The blue-clothed youth beside her saw the red-clothed girl's admiring expression, and a trace of sadness appeared on his face. Looking at Qin Chen, his eyes contained both envy and admiration, and he cupped his fist and said, I am Zhang Mingzheng, may I know the young hero's name? I am Qin Chen, I just happened to be passing by, you don't need to worry about it. Qin Chen smiled, then asked in confusion, I wonder why you were fighting with this three-eyed salamander. The place where the three-eyed salamander lives has few trees and is covered with moss, which is clearly different from other places. If ordinary people feel something is wrong, they would have left early. But this group of people clearly came prepared, but their cultivation was not enough, and many people died in vain. Young hero, you don't know, we came to the profound heavy mountain range this time to hunt this three-eyed salamander. Who knew that the three-eyed salamander's strength would far exceed our imagination, alas. The red-clothed girl sighed. Looking around, many corpses were lying scattered on the ground, and it could be seen that there were as many as 20 people when they came, but now, nearly a third of them had died, and the others were almost all injured. Her face couldn't help but reveal sadness. Young Master Qin, I have a request. Speaking of this, the red-clothed girl Zhu Yan thought of something and suddenly opened her mouth expectantly. Please speak. We came here this time to hunt this three-eyed salamander for its third eye, but this three-eyed salamander was killed by you, so. The red-clothed girl was quite ashamed. The other party saved their lives, but she still wanted the spoils of war, and she couldn't help but feel a little too much in her heart. Looking at the expectant gazes of the surrounding middle-aged man Zhang Han and others, Qin Chen instantly understood that the other party should have intended to hunt this three-eyed salamander. Knowing that there would be danger, they still rashly took action, obviously because the materials on the three-eyed salamander were very important to them. Do as you please. Qin Chen smiled. He originally didn't intend to take the other materials on the three-eyed salamander. Although they were valuable, they were of little use to him, and they were also very disgusting. Then thank you, young hero. The red-clothed girl and the others suddenly showed joy on their faces, their eyes grateful, and they obviously felt more and more favorable towards Qin Chen. Soon, the red-clothed girl's subordinates dissected the three-eyed salamander, and all the materials were taken away. As for the third eye, it was carefully wrapped and placed in a sandalwood box. Everyone, bury the corpses of our brothers. All the dead brothers will receive a subsidy of 30,000 silver coins, and the others will receive 10,000 each. Thank you, miss. The surviving guards revealed grateful expressions. Since the master was so generous, they were naturally willing to sacrifice themselves. We are going back to Wu City. I wonder where the young hero is going. If it is convenient, why not travel together? After that, the red-clothed girl extended an invitation to Qin Chen, with an expectant look on her face. Qin Chen saw that each of them was injured. If they encountered more powerful blood beasts, they were afraid that they would not be able to get out of this profound heavy mountain range, and said, I also happen to be going to Wu City. Seeing your condition, I will send you out. Then thank you, young hero. Everyone was grateful, and they added a bit of goodwill to Qin Chen. Along the way, Qin Chen also learned about the situation of the few people and the purpose of their hunting the three-eyed salamander. It turned out that they were from the Zhu family in Wu City, and this Zhu Yan was the young lady of the Zhu family. The Zhu family is a middle-level force in Wu City, and Zhu Yan's father, Zhu Sheng, is a heaven-level mid-stage peak martial artist. The Zhu family in Wu City is neither big nor small, running several shops, and it is quite powerful, and life is still decent. But not long ago, Zhu Yan's father, Zhu Sheng, was injured, and he was chronically ill. He found many apothecaries, but they were all helpless. Later, he learned that Master Lu Cheng of Wu City could cure his father's problem. This Lu Cheng is a second-grade peak alchemist. After learning the news, the Zhu family immediately asked for help. Lu Cheng did not refuse, but told the Zhu family that he was recently refining a furnace of pills, and he was still missing a compound eye of the three-eyed salamander. If he could find it, he would agree to help the Zhu family and treat Zhu Sheng. The Zhu family knew that the three-eyed salamander was powerful, so naturally they did not dare to agree casually. After all, what would be the point of the Zhu family being wiped out for the sake of Zhu Sheng alone? Unexpectedly, Lu Cheng gave the Zhu family another potion, telling the Zhu family that they only needed to sprinkle this potion at the entrance of the three-eyed salamander's cave, and after the three-eyed salamander smelled it, its combat power would be less than half. With excitement, the Zhu family finally gritted their teeth and agreed. Who knew that after they sprinkled the potion outside the three-eyed salamander's cave, the three-eyed salamander did not weaken at all, but became even more violent, almost causing them to be wiped out. Do you still have that potion? Give me some to see. Qin Chen suddenly said. There's a little left. Although he didn't know what Qin Chen was going to do, Zhang Han still took out the remaining packet of medicine. After a careful sniff, a cold smile appeared on Qin Chen's face. You've been deceived, Qin Chen said without a doubt. What? Zhang Han and the others frowned, staring intently. This isn't a potion to weaken the three-eyed salamander at all, but a beast-attracting potion, generally used to attract the appearance of blood beasts, and has absolutely no effect on weakening the three-eyed salamander. Qin Chen said lightly. Are you sure? Zhang Han couldn't help but whisper, his face looking very unsightly. Believe it or not, Qin Chen said. With his knowledge, he wouldn't be wrong about this. Zhang Han and Zhu Yan exchanged glances, their faces all very unsightly. If what Lu Cheng gave them was really just an ordinary beast-attracting potion, then this wasn't letting them hunt three-eyed salamanders at all, but wanting them to die. It's just that they had no grudges with Lu Cheng, so why would the other party do this? Filled with doubt, everyone's hearts were extremely heavy. The group quickly left the Xuanzhong mountain range, and continued to walk for another 100 miles, when a completely black city loomed into Qin Chen's view. Although this martial city is not big, it is extremely ancient and has quite a bit of momentum. I hope it won't disappoint me. Qin Chen thought silently in his heart, if he couldn't find anything to solve the 100 ghost curse in Martial City, then he would be in trouble. Entering and exiting Martial City required a fee of 1 silver coin per person. Zhu Yan and the others were familiar with the process and paid for the group before entering the city. Looking at the crowds coming and going, Qin Chen secretly clicked his tongue. The daily fee for entering and exiting the city alone was probably an astronomical figure. In Martial City, all those coming and going were martial artists wearing armor or martial robes, each with swords and sabers hanging from their waists, their aura extraordinary. This place was extremely chaotic, and ordinary people rarely moved here. Not to mention whether it was necessary, the cost of living here alone was not something ordinary people could bear. Young Master Qin, I have no way to repay you for saving my life earlier. I see that young master doesn't have a place to stay yet, why not come to our Zhu family to settle down first, so that our Zhu family can hold a banquet to thank you properly. Entering Martial City, Zhu Yan said expectantly. Yes, young Master Qin, it's your first time in Martial City, let us be your guide. Although we don't know what young master is here in Martial City for, our Zhu family has been operating in Martial City for many years. Putting aside other things, we still know quite a bit about everything in Martial City. Zhang Han also warmly invited. Qin Chen was so young, yet he possessed such cultivation. He must be a genius from a powerful force in the Northwest Five Nations. It would definitely not be wrong to befriend such a person, especially since Qin Chen had saved them before, so they should express the gratitude. All right. Qin Chen nodded. In fact, he had already had such thoughts when he helped Zhu Yan and the others. After all, his time was urgent, and having someone to help was much more convenient than groping around on his own. Seeing Qin Chen agree, Miss Zhu family, Zhu Yan, clenched her fist excitedly. The Zhu family was located in the east of Martial City, and it took everyone half an hour to reach it. This mansion did not cover too large an area, but it was not small either, barely considered a middle-class family, and there was still a considerable distance from a large family, somewhat similar to Zhang Ying's position in the Wangdu aristocratic family. From afar, they saw that there were many people gathered around the entrance of the mansion, seemingly pointing and gesturing at something. What's going on? Why are there so many people at the entrance of the mansion? Zhu Yan and the others looked puzzled and hurried forward. Seeing Zhu Yan and the others, the surrounding onlookers all showed different expressions on their faces. Miss Zhu family is back, coming back at this time. Isn't this courting death? Why bother provoking the Sun family? Is the Sun family so easy to provoke? This time, the Zhu family is probably doomed. Voices of pointing and gesturing came from around. Zhu Yan and the others' hearts sank, and they hurriedly came to the door, only to see that half of the Zhu family's gate had collapsed, and there were still some bloodstains at the door, but there was not a single guard. What's going on? Where are the guards at the door? Not good. Something happened at home. The few people's somewhat relaxed hearts were immediately lifted. Boom. Just then, the entire Zhu family trembled slightly, as if a small earthquake had occurred. Someone is fighting. Everyone realized that the sound of the tremor came from inside the Zhu family's mansion and rushed in. Zhu family hall. At this time, two groups of people were confronting each other, with the Zhu family's experts on the inside and a group of men in black standing outside, led by a burly middle-aged man, with a pockmarked young man beside him. On the Zhu family's side, a middle-aged man fell to the ground, the robe on his chest shattered, with blood on the corner of his mouth, obviously just injured, and quite badly. Hee, Zhu Zhengdong, you promised me back then that you would give your Zhu family's daughter to my Zhou family as a daughter-in-law. Why, now you look down on my Zhou family and are ready to go back on your word. I told you a long time ago, if you want to deceive my Zhou family, you have to see if you have the ability. Today, if you don't marry your Zhu family's daughter to my son, I will smash your Zhu family's mansion and see how long you can hold on. The burly middle-aged man had a scar on his face, his expression extremely ferocious, touching the black gauntlet on his right hand, revealing a sinister smile. The Zhu family's head was a gentle and refined middle-aged man, his face pale and weak, as if he was seriously injured. He instructed people to help up the injured Zhu family martial artist, suppressing his anger and said, Zhou, when did I promise you that I would marry my daughter to your Zhou family? Don't talk nonsense. Hee, the Zhu family head really has a bad memory. That time you were drunk and told me. Did you forget? But it doesn't matter. You forgot. But I didn't forget. Like this. If the Zhu family head really wants to renege, it doesn't matter. I still have the same words. You only need your Zhu family to transfer the shops in the center of Wuxi to my Zhou family as an apology, and I, Zhou, will leave immediately, without saying a word. The Zhou family head showed a sinister smile on his face. What marriage matters? Purely his fabrication, his purpose, is for the Zhu family's shops. Just find an excuse. Don't even think about it, Zhou. Don't push people too far. The Zhu family head trembled with anger, coughing up a mouthful of blood. Family head. The surrounding Zhu family martial artists all showed grief and indignation. How is it? Zhu family head, you suffered a palm from me a few days ago, can you still hold on? Do you want me to help you find a doctor to treat you? The Zhou family head smiled, his eyes gloomy. I still have the same words. Either marry your Zhu family's daughter to my Zhou family, or transfer the Zhu family's shops in Wuxi to my Zhou family. Choose one, you choose yourself. The Zhou family head looked relaxed, as if he had the Zhu family in his grasp. Father, don't agree to him. Just then, a furious shout rang out. Everyone turned their heads to look and saw Zhu Yan and her group walking in with angry expressions. Seeing the chaotic scene, Qin Chen touched his nose. It seemed the Zhu family had a lot of trouble. However, he didn't say anything, just stood in the crowd, quietly watching this scene. Huh. Qin Chen clearly saw a hint of astonishment flash in the eyes of the burly man leading the group opposite them when he saw Zhu Yan and the others return. Hey, I heard your Zhu family went to the profound heavy mountain range to hunt three-eyed salamanders. What's wrong? Didn't die inside, Zhou family head said with a fake smile. Even if you die, we won't die. Zhu Yan snorted coldly, a hint of disgust flashing in her eyes. Yan'er, you're back, Zhu Sheng said. Quick, come to your father's side. Hold on, now that the Zhu family's young lady is back, that's even better. Why not just betroth the Zhu family's young lady to my Zhou family? Son, do you like her? Zhou family head said with a grin to the pockmarked youth beside him. Hee, father, I like her. Why not let your son consummate the marriage tonight? After I'm done playing with her, I'll let father have a taste and experience the taste of a young body. The pockmarked youth's eyes flashed with a lewd look, he chuckled, and his eyes moved up and down Zhu Yan, grinning strangely, revealing a terrifying light. Zhou Mu, what nonsense are you talking about? Watch your mouth. Hearing this, everyone was furious, and Zhang Mingzheng couldn't help but draw his sword and step forward, like an enraged bull. Hey, there's even a flower protector. The elders are talking, do you have the right to speak? Don't you know the rules? Zhou family head Zhou Xinhua's face sank, and he slapped Zhang Mingzheng with his palm. The majestic true energy came out through his palm, preparing to give Zhang Mingzheng a severe lesson. If this palm hit, Zhang Mingzheng would be seriously injured even if he didn't die. Zhou Xinhua, I advise you not to go too far. Seeing his son in danger, Zhang Han roared and slashed out with his saber. Bang! The saber light shattered. Zhang Han was already seriously injured and hadn't recovered, and his cultivation was far from Zhou Xinhua's. With one move, he was immediately seriously injured and vomited blood, staggering backward. Such little strength, and you still bring it out to show off. Zhou Xinhua revealed a disdainful expression, and then smiled sinisterly. Since your Zhu family is unwilling to hand over the shop, that's fine. Today, my son will directly consummate the marriage in your Zhu family's hall, so everyone can feast their eyes and broaden their horizons. Ha ha ha. In the sinister laughter, Zhou Xinhua's figure swayed, and he grabbed towards Zhu Yan with a claw. An invisible suction force was born, preparing to suck Zhu Yan over. Bold. Outrageous. The Zhu family members were furious and stepped forward one after another. Boom. However, the Zhou family members were prepared and took action one by one, each with a grin on their faces and arrogant expressions, blocking all the Zhu family's elders, and could only watch Zhu Yan struggle, being sucked away by Zhou Xinhua. Zhou, you're going too far. Zhu Sheng's expression was furious, and he pounced forward. Zhou Xinhua sneered and slammed out with his left hand. With a bang, Zhu Sheng flew back the way he came, crashing heavily to the ground, spitting out blood. Old fool, if you were at your peak, I would still respect you a bit, but now you're half dead, and you still dare to attack. Do you really think I wouldn't dare to kill you? Zhou Xinhua laughed wildly, the powerful true energy sucking at Zhu Yan's body, and it looked like he was about to capture her. Qi. A sword Qi shot out, cutting off Zhou Xinhua's true energy. Who is it? Dare to ruin my good deed? Zhou Xinhua's face was gloomy, and he looked in the direction of the sound. Qin Chen slowly walked out from the crowd, frowning and saying, "You are so domineering and arrogant, doesn't Martial City have any law at all?" Zhou Xinhua thought it was some expert, but when he saw a 16 or 17-year-old teenager walking out, he couldn't help but feel relieved, and his face showed a sneer. I thought it was someone important. It turns out it's just a kid who still has milk on his breath. Do you have the right to speak when I'm doing things? Still law. The strong are respected in Martial City. My fist is the law. The other experts of the Zhou family also sneered. It seems the Zhu family has run out of tricks, and actually found such a kid to come forward. Kid, go out and inquire about our Zhou family in Martial City. Dare to interfere, today you will definitely die here. When Zhu Yan saw Qin Chen, a look of joy flashed across her face, and then worry appeared, saying, "Why did you take action?" Although Qin Chen's strength was very strong, the Zhou family also had many experts. She was worried that with so many experts from the Zhou family here, Qin Chen alone would not be able to resist, and would only drag him into the water. Qin Chen was non-committal, frowning and asking Zhu Yan, "Who are they?" Zhu Yan said, "They are people from the Zhou family in Martial City." The Zhou family and our Zhu family are the same. They have been operating in Martial City for many years, constantly fighting openly and secretly, wanting to seize our Zhu family's property. A few days ago, the Zhou family didn't know where they found poison, and plotted against my father, seriously injuring him. We were looking for the compound eyes of the three-eyed salamander to find someone to treat my father's illness. Oh, Qin Chen nodded, indicating he understood. Zhu Sheng, who was on the side, saw that Qin Chen's cultivation was extraordinary, and said, "Yan'er, who is this young hero?" "Father, we encountered danger in the profound heavy mountain range before, and it was young hero Qin Chen who saved us. Otherwise, I'm afraid none of us would have been able to return," Zhu Yan said. Zhu Sheng didn't expect Zhu Yan and the others to have encountered such a great danger, and a look of pain appeared, and he said, "Since young hero Qin Chen is a life-saving benefactor, why don't you take him to the backyard?" Although Qin Chen's cultivation was extraordinary, he was only one person after all. Zhu Sheng didn't want to involve others and bring disaster upon them. "Oh, so this kid saved you. Kid, do you know the consequences of meddling in other people's business in Martial City? Now I'll give you a chance to live, kneel down and kowtow to admit your mistake, and then obediently get out of the Zhu family, otherwise, don't even think about leaving here alive today," Zhou Xinhua said fiercely. Qin Chen ignored him, just frowned, and asked Zhu Yan, "Is it not against the law to kill people in Martial City?" Zhu Yan's face showed a complicated look, and said, "Martial City is relatively chaotic, and all the order is controlled by the top forces, but these forces manage it very loosely, and have not prohibited killing, but it needs to be justified." "I understand." Qin Chen nodded. "The so-called justification often only has one, and that is to look at the fist. The bigger the fist, the more justified." "Kid, you're very arrogant. Do you really think I wouldn't dare to kill you? Die." Originally, Zhou Xinhua saw that Qin Chen was young and his cultivation was not weak, and he was afraid that he had some background, and he didn't want to kill people casually. But seeing that the other party didn't even bother to pay attention to him, he immediately felt insulted, and with a grim expression, he directly punched over. Boom! A huge black fist shadow broke through the air, making a violent roar, and slammed towards Qin Chen's head. "Young hero, be careful," Zhu Sheng hurriedly exclaimed. If this punch hit, even he would be decapitated, with absolutely no chance of survival. "Be careful." Zhu Yan and the others were also on edge, crying out in alarm. Although they knew Qin Chen's cultivation was not weak, Zhou Xinhu, the head of the Zhou family, was a prominent figure in Wu City. Even their father had been injured by his underhanded tactics, so they were not sure if Qin Chen would be a match for him. Among the crowd, only Qin Chen remained indifferent. Clang! The mysterious rusty sword was unsheathed, and Qin Chen casually swung it out. "Ha ha ha, this kid is actually using a broken sword. I thought he was someone important, but he's just a pauper. He can't even afford a decent sword, yet he's pretending to be something he's not. Who does he think he is?" Seeing the rusty sword in Qin Chen's hand, the Zhou family couldn't help but burst into laughter. But the next moment, their smiles froze. Sizzle! A brilliant sword light bloomed from the rusty sword, emitting a terrifying aura. The air was instantly torn apart, and the sharp sword energy slashed onto the black fist wind, cutting it open with a puff sound, like slicing melons and vegetables. "Not good. This sword energy is powerful." Zhou Xinhua's expression changed drastically. He didn't dare to continue attacking Qin Chen, and hurriedly retracted his hands, forming a Zhenqi shield around his body. At the same time, he crossed his hands in an X shape, blocking in front of his chest. Poof! The late-stage Heaven Realm's protective Zhenqi shattered like glass, instantly cut open. The brilliant sword light slashed fiercely onto Zhou Xinhua's arm guard. Clang! A huge gash appeared on the dark and heavy Xuan iron arm guard. Fiery sparks, like fireworks, shot out 3 to 4 meters away, and a burnt smell wafted through the air. Bang! Unable to withstand the enormous force transmitted by the sword energy, Zhou Xinhua flew backward, his feet plowing 2 long grooves in the rocky ground until he stopped after retreating 7 or 8 meters. Huff! He heavily exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, Zhou Xinhua's face alternating between green and white, his internal qi and blood churning. The crowd in the hall was dumbfounded. A casual sword energy had sent Zhou Xinhua, the strongest person present, flying. Moreover, Zhou Xinhua's arm guard was a third-order treasure weapon, but it had been slashed with a deep sword mark by the opponent's sword energy, almost severing it in one blow. If he had used a bit more force, wouldn't the arm guard have been cut through, and Zhou Xinhua himself cut in half? You little bastard, you have some nerve. The most shocked was Zhou Xinhua. He took a deep breath, rapidly circulating the zhenqi in his body to the extreme, and pounced towards Qin Chen again. Rumble. This time, he didn't dare to be careless. His late-stage heaven realm cultivation was displayed to the fullest, and a scorching red glow erupted from his entire body. It was his bloodline power. On the gauntlets on his hands, blazing flames materialized, and he blasted towards Qin Chen from above. The air vibrated, the void rumbled, and with this punch, the world changed color. The entire Zhu family hall thundered, and the violent airflow shattered the surrounding tables and chairs instantly. A terrifying giant flame wolf floated in the air, pouncing and biting down on Qin Chen. Heavenly Wolf Overlord Fist. Zhou Xinhua didn't believe that he was no match for Qin Chen. He had just been careless before, almost making a fool of himself. This attack would let everyone know the consequences of offending him. Cut. Qin Chen's expression remained unchanged. He held the sword with both hands and slashed down from above. Poof! The magnificent sword light was like a celestial being descending from the heavens, instantly cutting the scarlet zhenqi giant wolf in half, shattering it after a miserable howl. The sword light continued unabated, fiercely striking Zhou Xinhua's body. Poof! Fresh blood bloomed. Zhou Xinhua screamed miserably, and flew out upside down. A sword mark several feet long appeared on his chest, so deep that bone was visible, almost piercing through his upper body. Blood sprayed out uncontrollably. Father. Family head. The Zhou family was all horrified, not expecting that even with the family head's full strength, he would still be sent flying by a single sword. Was this guy a monster? Even more shocked and angry was Zhou Xinhua. He had the highest cultivation and was the person involved, so he naturally knew the clearest. Qin Chen's previous sword attack wasn't actually that powerful, but what was terrifying was that it instantly pinpointed the flaw in his fist technique, easily dismantling his attack. Damn it! How did the Zhu family find such a freak? Zhou Xinhua roared in his heart, terrified. Knowing that he was no match for Qin Chen, his figure flipped in the air, grabbing towards Zhu Yan, who was closest to him. With such a strong person present, it was impossible for him to extort the Zhu family today. He was even in great danger of getting out alive. He could only grab a hostage first and leave from here. Bang! Terrifying palm force enveloped Zhu Yan, trying to pull her into his hands. Zhu Yan didn't expect Zhou Xinhua to suddenly shift his target to her. She tried desperately to struggle, but was powerless, and could only watch helplessly as she fell into the other party's hands. Want to grab a hostage? Qin Chen sneered, and at the moment Zhou Xinhua attacked, he suddenly raised his sword. Poof! A faint sword light flickered in the void, like lightning. The next moment, Zhou Xinhua screamed miserably, and the arm grabbing towards Zhu Yan flew out in the air, cut into 2 pieces. Poof! With a zhenqi tremor, Zhou Xinhua's severed arm turned into powder, leaving only half a broken gauntlet and a storage ring, which Qin Chen grabbed into his hand. Clang! The broken gauntlet was thrown on the ground. Qin Chen put away the storage ring, not even looking at it, and put it into his own storage ring. My storage ring. Zhou Xinhua lost his arm, and was in great pain, but what hurt even more was his heart. But at this time, he didn't even have the courage to attack. His figure swayed, and he hurriedly fled towards the outside of the Zhu family mansion hall. At this moment, there was only one thought in his mind: escape. Did I let you go? An icy voice sounded, and a sword light flashed through the void. A scream rang out. Zhou Xinhua's legs were all severed, blood gushing wildly, and the whole person fell to the ground with a thud. If he had desperately resisted, he might have been able to exchange 2 moves with Qin Chen, but how could he possibly escape with all his heart set on it? Father. Family head. The Zhou family were all stunned, their faces pale. As for the Zhu family, they had long been dumbfounded. With a sway of his figure, Qin Chen came to Zhou Xinhua's front. The mysterious rusty sword was dripping with blood, and the whole person was like a demon. You can't kill me. You are an outsider, daring to kill people wantonly in Wu City. Once the major forces know about it, you will surely die, Zhou Xinhua roared. At this time, the confidence on his face had long disappeared, replaced only by shock, anger, and fear, as well as endless resentment. At this time, you're still threatening me. Qin Chen frowned. Whoosh. The sword light flashed. Zhou Xinhua's head soared into the sky, his wide, terrified eyes filled with disbelief. With a thud, it fell to the ground and rolled twice. Originally, Qin Chen didn't want to kill the other party, he just wanted to cripple Zhou Xinhua's cultivation. After all, he was new to Wu City and didn't want to make a big fuss. However, seeing the other party's resentful eyes, Qin Chen understood that even if he spared his life, with the other party's resentment towards him, he would find ways to deal with him. Since that's the case, might as well kill him. The family head is dead. Father was killed. The Zhou family members' pupils constricted, instantly filled with endless terror. Qin Chen held his longsword, looking at the remaining Zhou family members present. All the Zhou family members' expressions were filled with fear, their faces pale, not even daring to look Qin Chen directly in the eye. One of the elders who had previously mocked Qin Chen now trembled, saying, "Your Excellency, our Zhou family was blind and offended the young hero. Please be merciful and spare our Zhou family a path to survival. We guarantee that we will never trouble the Zhu family again." His voice trembled, his tone filled with panic. Even Zhou Xinyuan's son trembled, not daring to say another word. Qin Chen did not speak. After all, this matter was ultimately the Zhu family's affair. He looked at the leading Zhu Sheng, his gaze indifferent, and said, "Zhu family head, you decide how to deal with this Zhou family." Thump. Before Zhu Sheng could speak, several Zhou family elders had already knelt down, trembling. "Zhu family head, our 2 families have operated in Wu City for so long. For the sake of our long-standing presence, please give us a chance and spare us." Anger flashed in Zhu Sheng's eyes. "Spare you? Why? Why didn't you think about how you treated our Zhu family before? We were possessed by evil, momentarily senseless, Zhu family head. As long as you spare us, just name your conditions, and we will agree to anything." "Yes. As long as you set the conditions, we will definitely agree, and never go back on our word. Zhu family head, give us one chance." Several Zhou family elders were very clear about what they should do now. Regardless, preserving their lives was the top priority. Once they returned to the Zhou family, how to handle things would no longer be up to the other party. The Zhu family had found such a master from somewhere. Their Zhou family had operated in Wu City for so long and were not to be trifled with. Even if it meant spending a fortune, they would find 2 assassins to make the Zhu family spit out everything they had taken. And that young man who killed their family head must die. Ha ha ha. Zhou Zhenlong, do you take me, Zhu Sheng, for a 3-year-old child? Letting you go back is letting a tiger return to the mountain. Everyone, listen to my command. Surround the hall. Leave no one from the Zhou family alive. Kill them all." Zhu Sheng roared, taking the lead and charging towards the Zhou family. Yes, the Zhu family members had long been ready. Now that Zhou Xinhuan of the Zhou family was dead, although the remaining masters were not weak, they absolutely could not be allowed to leave alive. Having lived in Wu City for so long, the Zhu family members had long understood a truth: this was a man-eating place. If you were merciful and let a tiger return to the mountain, you would surely be the one to die later. In an instant, the entire hall resounded with roars, as both sides fiercely engaged in battle. Although Zhou Xinhuan was gone, the remaining Zhou family elders were all highly cultivated and knew that the other party would not spare them, so they resisted fiercely. On the other hand, several key figures from the Zhu family were all heavily injured, and for a time, both sides were locked in a stalemate. Charge out. Several Zhou family elders fought while retreating. As long as they retreated outside and alerted the Wu City patrol, they would have a chance to survive. At this moment, they were extremely vexed in their hearts. If they had known this would happen, why would they have broken into the Zhu family mansion? Beside him, Qin Chen nodded slightly. The reason he left the decision to Zhu Sheng was to see what the Zhu family was thinking. If the Zhu family let the Zhou family go, then the Zhu family's standing in his heart would definitely drop significantly. At such a time, if they didn't know how to pursue victory, they deserved to die later. If the Zhu family chose to eradicate the Zhou family, he wouldn't mind helping a little. Die. Seeing several Zhou family members about to exit the main hall, Qin Chen finally moved. Swish. A phantom flashed through the clashing sides. The next moment, sword light streaked, and several Zhou family elders were instantly decapitated, split into two halves. Without their top masters, how could the remaining Zhou family members be a match for the Zhu family? They were cut down one by one, screaming miserably. Especially that pockmarked youth from the Zhou family, who was relentlessly targeted by Zhang Mingzheng and had his heart pierced by a sword. In the end, only the strongest, Zhou Zhenlong, was still stubbornly resisting. But he was covered in blood, clearly unable to hold on much longer. He was about to fall. Leave this one for now, Qin Chen suddenly said. The Zhu family members were slightly startled. Seeing that it was Qin Chen who spoke, they all stopped their attacks and retreated to the side. They looked at Qin Chen respectfully, having long since taken him as their leader. What do you want to do? Zhou Zhenlong, covered in blood, stared intently at Qin Chen, full of venom, and spat out a mouthful of blood. At this point, he had no intention of returning alive. Tell me, what is the relationship between Lu Cheng and your Zhou family? All the Zhu family members were stunned, looking at Qin Chen in confusion. How did this involve Great Master Lu Cheng? Zhou Zhenlong was startled, then sneered, ha ha ha, do you think I, Zhou Zhenlong, am someone who fears death? You want to know? Dream on. Knowing he was going to die anyway, Zhou Zhenlong had already given up hope. I'll give you one chance. Tell me, and I can spare your life. If you refuse, die. Qin Chen said coldly. Are you telling the truth? Looking at Qin Chen's expression, Zhou Zhenlong was startled, and said ferociously, why should I believe you? Do I need to lie to you? Qin Chen's eyes were cold, his expression high and mighty, like a grim reaper dominating all life. If you don't want to say it, I won't force you. He raised his longsword, and killing intent flashed. Say it, I'll say it. Zhou Zhenlong's stubbornness was only because he saw no hope of living. If he could live, he naturally didn't want to die. This plan was decided by Great Master Lu Cheng. The poison that severely injured Zhu Sheng was also given by Great Master Lu Cheng. Moreover, Great Master Lu Cheng also said that he would lure the Zhu family members to the three-eyed salamander's lair, letting their people die in the Xuanzhun mountain range. At that time, Great Master Lu Cheng would receive half of the treasures we obtained from the Zhu family. What? Zhou Zhenlong's words were like a bolt from the blue, striking heavily in the Zhu family's minds. That damned Lu Cheng. The Zhu family never expected that Great Master Lu Cheng would also be involved in this matter, and moreover, be one of the main culprits. They had even thought that Lu Cheng could heal Zhu Sheng's injuries. Zhang Han and the others exchanged glances, feeling lingering fear. So Lu Cheng actually harbored such intentions. No wonder that potion had no effect. If Qin Chen hadn't passed by, they would probably all have died at the mouths of the three-eyed salamanders. Qin Chen sneered. He had long felt that Lu Cheng was suspicious, and it turned out he was indeed one of the accomplices. Bang! A palm struck Zhou Zhenlong's abdomen. Zhou Zhenlong's dantian was instantly shattered, and he deflated like a punctured ball, instantly wilting. You crippled my cultivation. Zhou Zhenlong cried out in shock and anger. In Wu City, being without cultivation was even worse than being dead. I said I'd spare your life, but I didn't say I wouldn't cripple you, Qin Chen said with a cold smile. Fine. You're ruthless. Zhou Zhenlong staggered to his feet, his eyes filled with resentment, wanting to leave. Take him away, Qin Chen said. Immediately, two Zhu family disciples stepped forward and supported Zhou Zhenlong. You. What do you want to do? You clearly said you'd let me live. Zhou Zhenglong, being held by the Zhu family members, was immediately filled with shock and anger, thinking Qin Chen was going back on his word, and roared at him furiously. Don't worry, I said I'd let you live, and I will. Qin Chen, I wouldn't go back on my word over something like this. However, you'll have to suffer for a bit first. You. Zhou Zhenglong trembled with anger. Had he known this would happen, he would have rather died than agree to Qin Chen's terms. But now, even with a heart full of despair, the thought of surviving still kept him from giving up hope. That's just how people are. When they have the ability, they're willing to risk everything. But after hitting rock bottom, they lack the courage to die. Young Master Qin Chen, what should we do with this person now? Zhu Sheng asked respectfully. At this moment, they had already regarded Qin Chen as their backbone. Take him away first, Qin Chen said. Soon, Zhou Zhenglong was taken away, and the bodies of the Zhou family head and many elders were cleaned up. Young Master, thank you so much this time. If it weren't for you, our Zhu family would have faced a life or death crisis. We, the Zhu family, are endlessly grateful for your great kindness. Zhu Sheng led the Zhu family members and bowed deeply to Qin Chen. Not only did he save his daughter, but he also helped the Zhu family resolve the threat of the Zhou family. Although the Zhou family's foundation was still there, losing these experts was like a fierce tiger losing its claws and fangs, no longer a threat. Qin Chen waved his hand and said, it's nothing, just a small effort. Zhu Yan and the others staggered, almost falling to the ground. Just a small effort. Qin Chen helped them repel the Zhou family's powerful enemies, killed the Zhou family head and many elders, and resolved the entire Zhu family's life or death crisis, yet he said it was just a small effort. Was he even letting people live? What was a small effort to Qin Chen was a matter concerning the entire Zhu family. At this time, the Zhu family's mansion had already been cleaned up. Zhu Sheng led Zhu Yan and the others, bringing Qin Chen to a small reception hall inside the mansion. As it was approaching noon, Zhu Sheng instructed people to prepare a sumptuous lunch, specially to entertain Qin Chen. During the lunch, Zhu Yan frequently toasted Qin Chen, her cheeks flushed red, her gaze occasionally falling on Qin Chen, with a hint of a young girl's shyness. Everyone admired heroes. Qin Chen's strength made a woman like Zhu Yan unable to help but be moved. Not far away, Zhang Mingzheng saw this scene, his expression dim. Mingzheng, don't worry, young Master Qin Chen and we are not people of the same world. Miss and him, there won't be any results. Zhang Han, after all, was experienced. Seeing his son's sorrowful appearance, he couldn't help but comfort him, while also warning him, at the same time, I also warn you, don't have any ulterior motives towards young Master Qin Chen. Zhang Mingzheng nodded bitterly. He was now a late-stage peak Earth-level martial artist. Within a year or two, he wasn't without the chance to step into the heaven level. In Wucheng, he could be considered a genius. But compared to Qin Chen, the difference was too great. Father, don't worry, young Master Qin Chen is our savior. I'm grateful, how could I have other ideas? I just hope that I can become stronger, strong enough to protect this family, so that when I pursue Miss Zhu Yan, I won't lack confidence, Zhang Mingzheng said firmly. It's best if you can think that way, Zhang Han nodded. Young Master Qin Chen, I'll toast you a cup. At the banquet, Zhu Sheng raised his wine cup to Qin Chen. Cheers. Qin Chen also raised his wine cup. Cough, cough, cough. After drinking a cup of wine, Zhu Sheng couldn't help but cough, his face showing a trace of sickly redness. Father, drink less. Your injuries haven't healed yet, Zhu Yan said worriedly. Yes. Family head, you're poisoned. Alcohol will aggravate your injuries, so drink less, the other Zhu family elders also advised, their faces filled with worry. Originally the Qin family, young Master Qin Chen has solved a big problem for our Zhu family today, how can I not accompany him at the cost of my life? Zhu Sheng waved his hand and said in a deep voice, but as soon as he spoke, it affected the injuries in his body, and he coughed even more violently. A trace of blood overflowed from the corner of his mouth. Father, Zhu Yan was about to cry. The other elders also had bitter expressions. Originally, they had placed their hopes on Master Lu Cheng, but after learning from Zhou Zhenglong that Lu Cheng was actually one of the culprits who harmed Zhu Sheng, they had completely fallen into despair. Now, although Wu Cheng was big, they didn't know who to turn to. Family head Zhu, how about I take a look at the injuries on your body? Qin Chen suddenly said. Young Master Qin Chen, you can heal injuries. Everyone looked over in astonishment. Qin Chen smiled. I know a little. Zhu Sheng was skeptical, but still extended his arm. Qin Chen's fingers rested on Zhu Sheng's pulse, his mental power penetrating into it, sensing carefully. Huh. Qin Chen suddenly made a surprised sound, his face showing a strange expression. Young Master Qin Chen, the poison I've been inflicted with is very special. I've looked for many alchemists in Wucheng, but none of them can remove it. If young Master Qin Chen can't treat it, you don't have to worry, Zhu Sheng said with a bitter expression, but he was very open-minded. I didn't say I couldn't treat it. Qin Chen knew that Zhu Sheng had misunderstood, and couldn't help but say with a smile. Thank you for your concern, young Master Qin Chen. In fact, I've already come to terms with it. What? What did you say? You can treat it. Zhu Sheng thought Qin Chen was comforting him, and couldn't help but shake his head, but halfway through his words, he suddenly froze, his eyeballs widened, almost falling to the ground. The others also stared at Qin Chen dumbfounded, thinking they had misheard. Hee. The poison you've been inflicted with is indeed a bit special, but it's not untreatable. As soon as he finished speaking, a jade box had already appeared in Qin Chen's hand. The jade box was opened, and dozens of gold needles were placed inside. If you trust me, family head Zhu, just don't move, Qin Chen smiled. Trust? Of course I trust. Zhu Sheng nodded repeatedly. At this time, even if he didn't believe it, he could only treat a dead horse as a living one. Before he finished speaking, Qin Chen suddenly moved. Pa! He slapped the table, his true energy shook, and more than a dozen gold needles suddenly jumped out of the jade box. Qin Chen waved his right hand and flicked lightly. Chi. More than a dozen gold needles flashed in the void, and in the next moment, they all plunged into Zhu Sheng's body. The moment the gold needles entered his body, an invisible true energy surged into Zhu Sheng's body, causing him to groan involuntarily, and spit out a mouthful of black blood. Pa! After entering his body, the dozen or so gold needles exploded at the same time, turning into dust. At this time, Qin Chen had already put away the jade box and put it back into his storage ring. The entire place was silent. Everyone stared blankly at Qin Chen, their eyes almost popping out. The Zhu family was, after all, a large family and had seen many physicians. They had also seen gold needle acupuncture, but they had never seen such a miraculous treatment. With a flick of his finger, more than a dozen gold needles instantly entered all the acupoints, as if he were performing magic. Young Master Qin Chen, what do I need to do next? The hope in Zhu Sheng's heart was now burning like a flame. Having witnessed Qin Chen's methods, he faintly felt that the other party might really have a chance to cure his injuries, and couldn't help but reveal a look of anticipation. Not only him, but all the Zhu family experts present looked over eagerly, their expressions excited. Do what? Qin Chen was taken aback, his face showing confusion, and said, there's no need to do anything. Ah! The Zhu family members were all dumbfounded. What did this mean? Their hearts sank. Could it be that after young Master Qin Chen performed gold needle acupuncture, he discovered that the injuries on the family head's body were too serious and could not be cured at all? This was not impossible. After all, they had sought out no less than 7 or 8 apothecaries, and other than that Lu Cheng, no one had the confidence to treat the injuries on the family head's body. Seeing the expressions of the crowd, Qin Chen immediately understood that the Zhu family had misunderstood. He couldn't help but smile and say, oh, everyone, don't worry, the toxins on the Zhu family head's body have already been removed and cured by me. Cured. Zhu Yan and the others' delicate bodies stiffened, their heads dizzy. He just casually flicked the gold needles and cured the family head's illness. Are you kidding me? The crowd was so depressed that they almost vomited blood. Ha. In fact, the poison on the Zhu family head's body is not that serious, it's just that this kind of toxin is very strange and can penetrate into every cell of the human body, so ordinary detoxification potions are ineffective. But after I performed gold needle acupuncture, I stimulated the true energy power in all the cells of his body, and in an instant, used Zhu family head's own true energy to force the toxin out, so he's already fine. Seeing the crowd's confusion, Qin Chen explained. The poison in the Zhu family head's body was actually not very strong, but it was somewhat special, being the legendary heart lotus poison. This kind of toxin is extracted from the genius treasure seven-colored heart lotus. This seven-colored heart lotus is a fourth-tier peak spiritual medicine, very precious, and can purify a martial artist's true energy and improve a martial artist's cultivation level. Therefore, when it flares up, it is also very powerful, penetrating into every meridian and every cell, and ordinary detoxification potions are ineffective. However, as long as you find the right method to remove it completely, it is not a difficult task. Not serious. All right. Hearing Qin Chen's simple words, the Zhu family members in the hall were filled with madness. If this poison was simple, the Zhu family wouldn't have been helpless for so many days, and could only seek out that Lu Cheng. You must know that they had seen at least 7 or 8 alchemists before, half of whom couldn't even see the cause of Zhu Sheng's injury, and the remaining half, although they could see the cause, couldn't find a solution at all. Now that Qin Chen said it so simply, the crowd couldn't help but want to vomit blood. Seeing the crowd's expressions, Qin Chen understood that the crowd probably couldn't accept what he said for a while. He couldn't help but smile and say, Zhu family head, circulate the true energy in your body and see if the injury has healed. Okay. Although he was skeptical of Qin Chen's words, Zhu Sheng couldn't help but circulate the true energy in his body. Boom! An astonishing aura erupted from his body, and in the entire hall, it was as if a whirlwind had risen, and all the cups and plates were shaking violently. This. Zhu Sheng's eyes were about to pop out, his entire expression was sluggish, and he couldn't believe his eyes at all. My injury has actually healed, not only that, but why do I feel that the true energy in my body is more mellow than before? It's at least half as strong. Zhu Sheng muttered, his expression almost stunned. That is to say, before being injured, his cultivation was at the late stage of the heaven realm, but now, he clearly felt that he had already broken through the late stage of the heaven realm, and had at least reached the peak of the late stage of the heaven realm. This was simply like a pie falling from the sky. The other experts of the Zhu family were also dumbfounded, staring blankly at Qin Chen. He actually really cured him. What is the background of this young master Qin Chen? He's too heaven-defying, right? At this moment, no words could describe the shock in their hearts, and they were almost going crazy. Seeing this, Qin Chen smiled faintly. That 7-colored heart lotus is a legendary treasure for improving a martial artist's cultivation, and although lotus seeds can be extracted from it to create heart lotus poison, once refined, it will also greatly improve a martial artist's cultivation. Therefore, it was only natural that Zhu Sheng felt that he had made a breakthrough. At this time, a maid outside brought in a tray, and on the tray were the storage rings taken from the corpses of the Zhou family elders, placed on it one by one. Young master, these are the storage rings of the Zhou family elders. Our Zhu family has not touched a single cent. In addition, there is a little bit of our Zhu family's heart, and I hope young master will accept it with a smile. Zhu Sheng stood up from his seat, personally picked up the tray, and handed it to Qin Chen respectfully. Qin Chen not only saved Zhu Yan and the others, but also saved the entire Zhu family. Just now, he even cured his injuries. This kind of grace was no longer something that could be expressed in a few words. What's more, such an expert could definitely not be cultivated by ordinary forces, and Zhu Sheng had already decided to curry favor with him. All right. Qin Chen was not polite, and without even looking at the storage rings in the tray, he swept them all into his storage ring. I don't know what young master is here in Wucheng for at this time. If there is anything you need, please feel free to ask. As long as our Zhu family can help, we will do anything. Wucheng was extremely chaotic and was the trading center of the Northwest. Zhu Sheng knew that the other party must have come with a purpose, and couldn't help but ask. I am indeed here to find something, but there is no hurry for now. Tell me about that Lu Cheng first, Qin Chen said with a smile. After learning that Zhu Sheng had been poisoned by the heart lotus poison, Qin Chen also had a trace of interest in that Lu Cheng. Speaking of Lu Cheng, Zhu Sheng's face sank. Before, he had hoped that the other party could cure his injuries, but he didn't expect that he was in cahoots with the Zhou family and almost killed his daughter in the Xuanzhong Mountains. He immediately gritted his teeth and said, "That Lu Cheng is an alchemist in Wucheng. You must know that Wucheng is extremely chaotic and is not governed by any of the 5 countries, so there are no pill pavilions or bloodline holy lands stationed here, resulting in extremely few alchemists. Most of the alchemists are all loose cultivators, so every alchemist is extremely precious. And Lu Cheng is extremely talented in alchemy. He is a second-grade peak alchemist, so he has a great reputation and a very high status in Wucheng." While Zhu Sheng was narrating, Qin Chen was secretly nodding in agreement. A place like Wucheng is extremely chaotic, and there are naturally many fights every day. Under such circumstances, the status of alchemists will naturally become higher and higher. After all, in the fights between martial artists, those with low cultivation levels will definitely not be willing to accept it and will be wholeheartedly improving their cultivation. At this time, elixirs will definitely be indispensable. In addition, martial artists are also prone to injuries during fights. Once injured, they will naturally need healing elixirs or medical treatment. At this time, the identity of alchemists becomes even more prominent. Therefore, when a place is more chaotic, the status of alchemists will be further elevated. This is an unchanging principle throughout the ages, not only in Wucheng, but also in other places on the mainland. Moreover, Wucheng is a place that does not have an official alchemist organization like the Pill Pavilion, so the identity of alchemists will naturally be even more terrifying. Then, is this Lu Cheng affiliated with the 4 major forces of Wucheng? Afterward, Qin Chen asked. When he communicated with Zhu Yan and the others before, Qin Chen also learned that the order of Wucheng is controlled by the 4 most powerful forces. These 4 major forces are the Song family, the Zhu family, the Wushu Mansion, and the Tianxing Chamber of Commerce. Each force has a Xuan-level expert sitting in town, and they are the overlords of Wucheng. That's not the case. Lu Cheng has not joined any force. Instead, he opened a pharmacist shop in the most prosperous area of Wucheng, named Luge, which has a great reputation in Wucheng. People seeking medical treatment are constantly coming and going. His rule is that anyone who wants him to take action to treat them must meet his specified requirements, otherwise he will not pay any attention to them at all. Zhu Yan and others also nodded in agreement. Among the many alchemists in Wucheng, Lu Cheng's reputation is not the highest, but he is also one of the best. Otherwise, they would not have approached him in the first place. He's really domineering. Qin Chen sneered and stood up directly. "Let's go." Standing up, Qin Chen took a step and was about to walk out. "Where are you going?" Zhu Sheng was stunned. Zhu Yan and the others were also a little surprised. "Naturally, I'm going to find that Lu Cheng." Qin Chen's lips curled into a sneer. "That Lu Cheng actually dared to frame your Zhu family like this. I really want to know what kind of person he is. Young hero Qin Chen, you don't want to cause trouble for Lu Cheng, do you?" Zhu Sheng's expression suddenly became anxious. He hurriedly said, "Young hero Qin Chen, I'm afraid you don't know. This Lu Cheng is not comparable to the Zhou family. The Zhou family is just a small family in Wucheng, and we were justified in the first place. Even if we killed Zhou Xinhua, no one would say anything. But Lu Cheng is different. Lu Cheng has a great reputation in Wucheng. Although he is not affiliated with the 4 major forces, he has a good relationship with the Zhu family, one of the 4 major forces. If we rashly go to his door, there is a high possibility that there will be danger." Although he hated Lu Cheng to the core, Zhu Sheng did not dare to go to Lu Cheng to cause trouble. After all, Lu Cheng's identity as an alchemist is not something that the Zhou family can compare to. I naturally know this, but Lu Cheng has framed the Zhu family like this. If it were me, I would definitely not be able to bear it. Today, I will go to Luge to seek justice. If the Zhu family head is willing, you can naturally come along. If you are not willing, it's okay. This young master will not force you." Qin Chen said lightly. "Young hero Qin Chen, what are you talking about? If it weren't for you today, our Zhu family would probably have been in great trouble. I'm just giving you a reminder. Since you are determined to do this, I naturally have no objections. Don't mention a mere luge, even if it is a mountain of knives and a sea of fire. I will be a coward if I frown. Qin Chen's words aroused Zhu Sheng's bloodiness, and he said righteously, "Since that's the case, let's set off." Qin Chen smiled slightly. To be honest, he definitely wanted to find trouble with that Lu Cheng. After all, after knowing that Zhu Sheng had been poisoned by the heart lotus poison, Qin Chen had become curious about that Lu Cheng. This is a 4th level peak colorful flower lotus. If the other party really has such a spiritual medicine, it would be enough to improve Qin Chen's cultivation, so he naturally wouldn't be indifferent. But at the same time, Qin Chen was also testing Zhu Sheng. If the Zhu family was really afraid of Lu Cheng and was timid, then Qin Chen would definitely turn around and leave without saying a word. There was no point in keeping such a family. Immediately, Qin Chen and a group of people from the Zhu family walked towards Luge in a mighty manner. Young hero Qin Chen, that Lu Cheng himself has a late-stage peak heaven-level cultivation. In addition, his identity as a second-grade peak alchemist has also allowed him to recruit many experts. Although there are no Xuan-level experts, there are still 2 late-stage peak heaven-level experts. You must be cautious in your actions later. Along the way, fearing that Qin Chen would be reckless, Zhu Sheng told him about Lu Cheng's background and cultivation in detail. Don't worry, I'm not a reckless person. Qin Chen nodded with a smile on his lips. The two sides walked quickly on the street. After about a stick of incense, they saw that the front was becoming more and more lively. At the same time, a wide pavilion appeared in front of everyone. With red bricks and green tiles, and golden glazed tiles, this pavilion stood on the bustling downtown street, with a unique style compared to the shops on both sides. Above the gate of the pavilion, there was a gilded plaque with the 2 large characters, Luge, written on it. At the same time, there were also several guards standing in front of the pavilion, with proud expressions and exuding an astonishing aura. Early stage heaven-level martial artists. After taking a look, Qin Chen's eyes narrowed. The guards guarding the door were actually all heaven-level experts. Such people would definitely be elder-level experts in the Zhou and Zhu families and would not easily show up, but in this luge, they were actually just gatekeepers. This is alchemist Lu Cheng's luge. He will be in luge every afternoon, so this is also the busiest time for luge. Many martial artists who want to seek his treatment will come. Zhu Sheng reminded him secretly from the side. Sure enough, looking up, there were already many people lined up at the entrance of luge, making a commotion. These people all had expectant eyes and kept looking up. Among them, several martial artists were supporting a man covered in blood, anxiously trying to walk inside. Hey, what are you guys doing? Before they even reached the door, they were stopped by the guards. This big brother, we are from the Gale exploration team. We encountered a heaven-level blood beast, the sky-eyed ghost cat, in the Xuanzhong Mountains. Our captain sacrificed himself to save us and is now seriously injured. Please, big brothers, do us a favor and let us in to see Master Lu Cheng and save our captain. The martial artists said anxiously, with anxious expressions. The Gale exploration team was considered to have some reputation in Wucheng, and the captain was a late-stage peak heaven-level expert. I'm sorry, our pavilion master has ordered that if you want treatment, you must first line up. After you are in line, you can accept a task. Only after completing the requirements can you meet the guest. The leading guard glanced at the people and opened his mouth disdainfully. Brothers, as you can see, our captain is already injured like this. Please, have some mercy and let us through. We understand the rules, but the situation is urgent. Please, brothers, give us some leeway. The person speaking looked anxious and secretly slipped a few silver notes into their hands, saying, "This is just a small token of our appreciation. Please don't dislike. Sorry, the rules set by our pavilion master are ironclad and cannot be broken by anyone, no matter how urgent the situation is." The guards glanced at the silver notes offered by the Gale Wind Adventure team, their expressions dismissive. They sneered, "You think you can bribe us brothers with 10,000 silver coins? Are you trying to send us away like beggars? How can you be like this? The reason our Gale Wind adventure team went to such a dangerous place like the profound heavy mountain range was because we accepted a mission from your Willow Pavilion to find purple sun grass. Otherwise, how would our captain have been injured? You're being so unreasonable. That's right. We were injured while on a mission for your Willow Pavilion. Is your Willow Pavilion not going to take any responsibility at all? The members of the Gale Wind adventure team became anxious and couldn't help but step forward. Shut up. The person who spoke earlier winked at his brothers behind him. They were here to beg for help, not to cause trouble. If they offended the guards of the Willow Pavilion, their captain might really be beyond saving. Brothers, what my brother said earlier was out of line. Please don't take it to heart. Here's a small gift, nothing much. Gritting his teeth, the member of the Gale Wind adventure team took out a few more silver notes from his person and handed them over. These silver notes were not of low value, totaling at least 30 to 40,000. Pa. With a wave of his hand, the leading guard slapped away the silver notes from the Gale Wind adventure team. His face was gloomy and he said coldly, "We gave you an inch, and you really think you're someone important, huh? What Gale Wind adventure team? Just a trashy adventure team. You dare to be arrogant here. I said you can't see him, and you can't see him. Get out of here now, or don't blame us for being impolite." The guard's face darkened, and with a flick of their wrists, they all drew their weapons. You're going too far. Our captain was injured because of your Willow Pavilion. Is this your attitude? You're watching someone die without helping. Is this what you alchemists of the Willow Pavilion do? Hearing this, the members of the Gale Wind adventure team almost exploded, each of them furious. The surrounding people seeking medical treatment also showed expressions of pity. The Gale Wind adventure team was considered to have some reputation in Marshall City. They didn't expect that because they accepted a mission from the Willow Pavilion, they would become so miserable. The key point was that the Willow Pavilion's attitude was so overbearing, which made people sigh. What kind of looks are you all giving us? Seeing the pitying gazes of the many people present, the guards of the Willow Pavilion were furious. Our Willow Pavilion's missions didn't force you to accept them. You all took them on voluntarily. Now that you're injured, you're blaming our Willow Pavilion. How can there be such a thing? I think you're all just being masochistic. If you have the ability, don't come to our Willow Pavilion. You're all asking for it. The leading guard looked at the members of the Gale Wind adventure team, a mocking smile on his lips. You. Hearing this, the members of the Gale Wind adventure team immediately exploded. They all looked angry and rushed forward, their bodies erupting with terrifying true energy, emitting violent rumbles. The Gale Wind adventure team, capable of making a name for themselves in Marshall City, were naturally not ordinary people. Apart from the team leader, who was a peak mid-stage Heaven Realm expert, the other members were also not weak, with several of them at the early stage of the Heaven Realm. As they fought, their energy surged, and various true energy attacks rained down. You dare to run wild in our Willow Pavilion. The guard who spoke sneered, not afraid at all. So what if we run wild? At worst, we'll find someone else and not come to your Willow Pavilion anymore. You people of the Willow Pavilion are all white-eyed wolves. The members of the Gale Wind adventure team were furious. Regardless of how much the vice captain tried to stop them, they all pounced forward, their hands surging with energy. They were determined to get justice, even if it meant suffering some losses. Hey, our Willow Pavilion has stood in Marshall City for so long. Do you really think we're vegetarians? Since you want to fight, then wait to die. The guards of the Willow Pavilion revealed mocking smiles, and then suddenly stomped their feet. Buzz, buzz, buzz. An invisible white light enveloped the entire entrance of the Willow Pavilion, encompassing all the people seeking medical treatment. Before the members of the Gale Wind adventure team could react, they were struck by the attacks that swept out from the white light. Blood spurted from their chests, and they fell heavily to the ground, seriously injured. What? Seeing this scene, all the people seeking medical treatment changed their expressions greatly and retreated one after another. A powerful formation was actually set up at the entrance of the Willow Pavilion, enveloping all the people seeking medical treatment. They had never known about it. This was too much. Fortunately, the other party didn't intend to attack them. Otherwise, The outcome for those enveloped by the formation wouldn't have been much better than that of the Gale Wind Adventure team. Everyone, rest assured. The reason our Willow Pavilion set up a formation at the entrance is not to deal with you, but only to deal with some troublemakers. As long as everyone behaves themselves, there will naturally be no danger. If you want to act against our Willow Pavilion, the Gale Wind Adventure team will be your fate. As he said this, the corners of the guards' mouths curled into sinister smiles, and they all pounced forward. Poochie. Although the members of the Gale Wind Adventure team were not weak, they were no match for the Willow Pavilion guards under the formation. Only screams could be heard, one after another, and in an instant, they were all seriously injured and fell to the ground. Without a word, they started fighting and acted ruthlessly. The people of the Willow Pavilion were indeed vicious. Everyone, do you still dare to cause trouble in my Willow Pavilion? The Willow Pavilion guards sneered repeatedly. What took so long to describe actually only happened in a few breaths. The members of the Gale Wind Adventure team were all seriously injured, a miserable sight to behold, which made Qin Chen's eyes turn cold. The people of the Willow Pavilion were simply too ruthless. Everything is my fault, Wang's fault. Please, adults, have mercy and spare my team members for Wang's sake. Seeing this scene, the severely injured captain of the Gale Wind Adventure team opened his eyes with difficulty and said painfully. As he spoke, he coughed up blood. Captain Wang, for your sake. You're just an adventurer. What qualifications do you have? Are you worthy of me giving you face? The leading guards sneered and kicked the severely injured captain of the Gale Wind Adventure team. Bang! The man flew out heavily, eliciting painful roars from the Gale Wind Adventure team members, who watched helplessly as their captain fell heavily to the ground. Originally, Captain Wang was already seriously injured. With this kick, he would be crippled even if he didn't die. Just then, a figure appeared and supported the other party. I say, aren't you going too far? A faint voice rang out, carrying displeasure. It was Qin Chen. Yo ho, where did this little brat come from? You haven't even grown all your hair yet, and you're trying to show off here. Hearing this, the Willow Pavilion's guard was furious and walked forward with a sneer. Today, they originally intended to teach the Gale Exploration team a lesson to make an example of them, to see if anyone would dare to act wildly in Willow Pavilion in the future. They didn't expect that they were only halfway through teaching the lesson when a young man ran out to show off, which was unbearable for them. Boy, whose kid are you? You haven't even grown all your hair yet, are you here to die? With a sneer, a cold light appeared on the guard's face. Teaching 1 is teaching, and teaching 2 is also teaching, so it's better to solve this young man together, so that everyone can see what kind of place Willow Pavilion is. Everyone, it's a misunderstanding, it's all a misunderstanding. Seeing Qin Chen step forward, Zhu Sheng was taken aback and hurriedly came to Qin Chen and said to the guards with a smile. He was speechless in his heart. Young hero Qin Chen said he wouldn't be reckless. Is this his not being reckless? The other Zhu family experts were also speechless. Young hero Qin Chen is strong, but he just doesn't use his brain when doing things. Even if he wants to make trouble, he has to change the place. This place is covered by the Willow Pavilion's formation. Isn't this just putting himself in danger? Of course, what they thought in their hearts didn't stop their actions, and they all stood in front of Qin Chen without hesitation. Hey, isn't this the Zhu family head? Yes, and many Zhu family elders. Why are they here? I heard that not long ago, the Zhu family head was seriously injured and came to Willow Pavilion to ask for medicine. Now he's so lively, could it be that he's been cured? Master Lu Cheng is indeed Master Lu Cheng, his medical skills are really superb. Zhu Sheng is, after all, the head of the Zhu family, and his appearance immediately attracted the surprise of many warriors around him. So it's the Zhu family head, what? Do you also want to be against my Willow Pavilion? The guard's expression sank when he saw Zhu Sheng step forward, and a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. He glanced at Qin Chen and said coldly, Zhu family head, is this kid from your Zhu family? Ha, everyone, this person is the benefactor of my Zhu family. If there is any offense, please forgive me, but we are here to find Lu Cheng for important matters. Semicolon. Although he was unhappy with the people of Willow Pavilion, Zhu Sheng was still cautious and didn't dare to be too presumptuous under the eaves of their house. Important matters. Is this how you handle important matters? Zhu family head, don't blame us for not giving you face. Hand over this kid, and we won't pursue this matter. Otherwise, don't blame us for being merciless. Semicolon. The guards sneered, not taking Zhu Sheng and the others seriously at all. Zhu Sheng, what are you talking nonsense with them for? Just take them down directly. Semicolon. Hearing Zhu Sheng chatting with the guards, Qin Chen's expression sank, and he immediately said unhappily. This Zhu Sheng is good at everything, but he lacks courage. Staggering, Zhu Sheng was about to cry. Benefactor, can you say less? I finally managed to calm the situation down, and you ruined all my previous efforts with one sentence. Sure enough, upon hearing this, the people of Willow Pavilion were furious. Zhu family head, don't blame us for not giving you face, this kid must die today. Semicolon. The guards' faces were ugly, and they rushed towards Qin Chen. Alas. Semicolon. With a sigh, Zhu Sheng knew that it would be difficult not to take action today. Bang! Terrifying aura blooming in his body, Zhu Sheng's figure swayed, instantly arriving in front of Qin Chen, his palms suddenly flying. Bang bang bang! The toxins in Zhu Sheng's body were removed, and his cultivation broke through to the late-stage peak of the Heaven Realm. Although the guards' cultivation was not weak, how could they be Zhu Sheng's opponent? Before they could react to what happened, they only felt a huge force coming, and they had already been blasted away. Zhu family head, you are so bold. Semicolon. Dare to make trouble in Willow Pavilion, don't you want to live? Semicolon. Very well, don't even think about leaving safely today. Semicolon. The guards were furious. They didn't expect Zhu Sheng to dare to attack them. They stepped forward and hurriedly activated the formation. Buzz buzz buzz. An invisible white light enveloped Zhu Sheng and the others, an amazing heaven and earth true chi flowed. Zhu Sheng immediately felt a strong sense of crisis sweeping over him. Young hero Qin Chen, you retreat, I'll deal with this. Semicolon. Swallowing a mouthful of saliva, Zhu Sheng's expression was solemn. A formation that could make him feel threatened was definitely extraordinary, at least a third-tier peak formation. With his current cultivation, it would not be easy to break it. If he was not careful, he might fall into crisis, leading to total annihilation. Young hero Qin Chen, if I encounter danger later, you don't have to worry about me, just escape from this formation if possible. Semicolon. Although he knew that Qin Chen's cultivation was terrifying, Zhu Sheng was still nervous in his heart. No need for so much trouble. Semicolon. Taking out a few gold needles and inserting them into the captain of the Gale exploration team, Qin Chen slowly stepped forward and slapped the formation in front of him. Boom! There was only a loud roar, and the formation at the entrance of the Willow Pavilion mansion shook violently, and then, under the shocked gazes of everyone, it shattered. The sense of crisis in Zhu Sheng's perception disappeared instantly, and the surrounding formation patterns completely subsided. The formation is broken. Foolishly looking at the scene in front of him, Zhu Sheng only felt that his brain was not working properly. He knew that Qin Chen was powerful, but he shouldn't be so powerful, right? Even the formation that made him feel threatened was broken with a single palm strike, which was completely beyond his expectations. What are you still stunned for? Why aren't you attacking yet? Semicolon. While he was shocked, Qin Chen's indifferent voice came from the side. Yes. Semicolon. With a jolt, Zhu Sheng instantly woke up and rushed forward fiercely. Without the blessing of the formation, how could these Heaven Realm initial stage guards be Zhu Sheng's opponents? They were all blasted into serious injuries and fell to the ground, spitting blood. Zhu Sheng, your Zhu family dares to act wildly in Willow Pavilion, you are dead, do you know that? Semicolon. Master Lu Cheng will not let you go. Semicolon. Believe it or not, Master Lu Cheng will exterminate your entire Zhu family. Semicolon. Even at this time, the guards still showed resentment and roared angrily. At this time, there was only one thought in their minds, that is, Why did the previously extremely powerful formation suddenly lose its effect after being slapped by that young man? Still talking nonsense. Semicolon. Poochie. A sword light flashed. A bloodstain appeared on the throat of the guard at the front, and the whole person widened his surprised and angry eyes, completely losing his breath. Until his death, he stared with his eyes wide open, unable to rest in peace, unable to imagine that the other party would dare to kill him openly at the gate of Willow Pavilion. Young hero Qin Chen. Semicolon. Zhu Sheng and the others were also greatly shocked. Injuring people can only be regarded as provocation, and there is still room for negotiation and reconciliation. But killing people directly like Qin Chen is equivalent to tearing apart the face and being irreconcilable. What? Do you still want to resolve this peacefully with this Lu Cheng? If the Zhu family head is afraid, you can leave now. Semicolon. Qin Chen glanced at him, his eyes filled with displeasure. Zhu Sheng shuddered. He knew that Qin Chen was dissatisfied with his approach. Thinking about it, Lu Cheng has already treated him like this, but he is still cautious. Even if the other party has been powerful for a long time, he is too cowardly. Young hero Qin Chen is joking. Semicolon. Gritting his teeth, Zhu Sheng suddenly laughed, and then slammed a palm at each of the seriously injured guards. Bang! The guards were instantly turned into minced meat and died on the spot. Young hero Qin Chen, what should we do now? Semicolon. Coming respectfully to Qin Chen, Zhu Sheng completely corrected his posture. What else can we do? Of course, we're going to fight our way in. Semicolon. Raising his head, Qin Chen looked at the magnificent Willow Pavilion in front of him, and couldn't help but sneer. A group of people immediately walked forcefully into the interior of Willow Pavilion. Boom! The plaque of Willow Pavilion shattered instantly under Qin Chen's palm, with countless fragments flying, and the entire gate of the pavilion was torn apart. Qin Chen and Zhu Sheng and others strode into the interior of Willow Pavilion. Before leaving, Qin Chen casually tossed a jade bottle into the hands of the vice-captain of the Gale Wind Adventurer team. This bottle of pills is for you to heal your injuries. After that, the figure had already disappeared. Heavens, who is this young man? How dare he attack the guards of Willow Pavilion? Is he tired of living? The Zhu family head is still messing around with him. Is he trying to drag the entire Zhu family down with him? Judging by this momentum, something big is about to happen. The crowd was in an uproar, looking at the slain guards of Willow Pavilion. Each one was dumbfounded, almost going crazy. Although Willow Pavilion is not considered a top force in Martial City, because of the special identity of its alchemist, Lu Cheng's status far exceeds that of ordinary families. Every year, people come to his door in an endless stream, let alone someone barging in. Moreover, it is said that Lu Cheng has a good relationship with the Zhu family, one of the four major forces, so even the major families have to give Lu Cheng some face. This is also why the Willow Pavilion guards were so arrogant before. But just now, the Zhu family actually dared to attack the guards of Willow Pavilion, and even directly killed several of them. This is not just a simple disturbance, it's simply seeking revenge. It's just that although the Zhu family's power is not weak, it is still somewhat inferior to Willow Pavilion, not to mention that Lu Cheng is also an alchemist with many friends. Where did he get the courage to attack? Quick! Hurry in and take a look. Don't miss such a big event. Daring to cause trouble for Willow Pavilion, the Zhu family has really eaten a bear's heart and leopard's gall. For a time, the noise was deafening, and everyone frantically poured into Willow Pavilion to find out what was going on. At the entrance of Willow Pavilion, after taking the pills given by Qin Chen, the members of the Gale Wind Adventurer team recovered from their injuries one by one and stood up. Their faces were all filled with shock as they looked at the jade bottle in the vice-captain's hand, revealing an unbelievable expression. The healing pills that the young man had given them earlier were simply too heaven-defying. Not long after they took them, the injuries on their bodies almost recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye, stunning everyone in the Gale Wind Adventurer team. As adventurers, they had taken no small number of healing pills in the daily lives, but this was the first time they had encountered one with such amazing effects. This is definitely a third-grade pill, and it is very likely the top-grade healing pill among third-grade pills. Everyone thought in shock. That's right, the captain was seriously injured before. I wonder if taking this pill will help him recover. Suddenly, thinking of their seriously injured captain, the expressions of the Gale Wind Adventurer team members shook. Brothers, are you all right? Before they could act, they heard a familiar voice, and turning their heads, they saw their captain actually standing there, his face rosy, no longer looking like he was seriously injured. Captain, how did you? The people of the Gale Wind Adventurer team were almost dumbfounded. It was that young hero who took action and healed my injuries. Wang Feng explained, his heart also extremely shocked. Earlier, after Qin Chen pierced several acupoints on his body with golden needles, a strange power of true energy immediately emergence in his body, and wherever it passed, the damaged meridians healed one after another. It was just like a dream. They had never even heard of such miraculous medical skills before, let alone seen them. Captain, what do we do now? With their injuries healed, the members of the Gale Wind Adventurer team were all full of energy, and couldn't help but ask. Wang Feng's expression was serious, and he said in a deep voice, that young hero is not acquainted with us, but he dared to challenge Pill Pavilion and rescued us. Although our Gale Wind Adventurer team is not a big force, we also understand the principle of gratitude. Now that our benefactor is about to fight with Willow Pavilion, we naturally cannot stand idly by. If you are willing, come in with me. What the captain said is right. If it weren't for the benefactor's action earlier, we would probably have all died at the hands of the Willow Pavilion guards. Being able to stand here safely now is all thanks to the benefactor. How can we turn around and leave? Let's go. Let's go in and take a look. Immediately, a group of Gale Wind Adventurer team members, each with a serious expression, strode towards the interior of Willow Pavilion. Qin Chen came to Willow Pavilion for the first time, and walking in, he saw a large area of luxurious counters in front of him. In the counters, there were many pills displayed, and at the same time, there were many martial artists around the counters, picking out the things inside, and beside them were several maids in bright clothes, introducing them carefully. Qin Chen didn't believe that the people in Willow Pavilion hadn't heard the commotion outside, and originally thought he would encounter resistance, but he didn't expect that no one came up at all. How would he know that Martial City is extremely chaotic? Except for the top 4 forces, other forces don't have so-called peace at all. Similar to the Zhu family, which has been operating here for many years, it can be considered a small force, but it is also prone to the danger of extermination. Although Willow Pavilion has an extraordinary status, it is not completely safe, and basically someone comes to make trouble every once in a while. That's why such a terrifying formation was set up outside. Under this formation, with several guards on duty, it is almost impossible for a strong person above the 4th order Xuan level to rush in. Therefore, although they heard the noise outside, the service personnel in Willow Pavilion were already used to it, so they were so calm. Young hero Qin Chen, what do we do now? Turning around and looking at Qin Chen respectfully, Zhu Sheng now takes Qin Chen's lead. Smash everything here for me, confiscate all the pills. Pointing to the counter in front of him, Qin Chen sneered. Originally thought he would encounter resistance, but he didn't expect no one to pay attention at all, which just suited Qin Chen's intentions. Smash! Smash them all! Staggering, Zhu Sheng and Zhang Han and others almost went crazy. This is too explosive. First killing the other party's guards, and now directly smashing the counters. This is a rhythm of endless death. But through the previous events, everyone already knew Qin Chen's character. Although they were stunned, they did not hesitate, and came forward one after another. May I ask why you have come? Do you have an appointment? Seeing Qin Chen and others walking in, a waiter immediately greeted them. Before the words were spoken, there was a burst of ping-pong-pong sound, and all the counters in the hall were smashed to pieces, and the pills and spiritual herbs inside were looted. Even after training, all the waiters present were instantly dumbfounded. Then they screamed sharply. Many customers who were picking out pills were also frightened. My God, this is too explosive, isn't it? At the entrance of Willow Pavilion, a large group of onlookers also poured in at this time, and seeing the scene in front of them, they were almost scared to faint on the spot.